Chapter 1294, The Dance of Origins compared to Yunshi's cautiousness after learning his lesson. Cassina the battle god is truly skilled and fearless, or you could say fearless of the heavens and earth. To let Ouroboros recover its strength as soon as possible, Cassina the battle god is determined to activate divination on her disciple. This time, the highest reward of the Red Heart Queen's masquerade is a must-win for her. Lady's charm? That kind of thing is very simple. She is super confident in her dancing. I am Cassina. She is very good at dancing and fighting. So, come and watch me dance. Compared to Ouroboros' drunken and messy state, Cassina the battle god introduced herself simply and directly, without any hesitation. After watching Shea Longness's performance, Ouroboros' performance, and the scores, Cassina the battle god is confident in the upcoming battle. This confidence is built upon her extraordinary strength. She doesn't bother with lies. Cassina. Yunshi almost added the word teacher. The more benefits Yunshi gains from the seed of the battle god, the more he understands the teacher's power. It's a real and continuously growing strength, even the smallest student like him can clearly understand. Carrying the Sand of Time divine sword, Cassina the battle god has embarked on the stage of the battle god's grand martial arts tournament time and time again, facing challenges from various strong opponents from the endless god's domain, and remains undefeated to this day. Becoming a disciple of Cassina the battle god was a great opportunity for Yunshi. If it wasn't for the White Lotus secret treasure revealing the future that Cassina the battle god had prepared for him, he wouldn't have known that Cassina the battle god had taken him as a disciple in order to train him as an opponent. Nevertheless, Yunshi is still grateful to Cassina the battle god because she truly gave him the methods to become stronger and showed him a path towards the legend ranked. If it weren't for the destiny of carrying the Star Child, maybe he would willingly take a walk in the river of time. The future that Cassina the battle god expects is also one of the futures that Yunshi anticipates. It's natural for a teacher to expect their disciples to surpass them. Stepping out of the ordinary small town, Cassina the battle god was the friendliest legend ranked that Yunshi had ever encountered. Despite being a battle god, she gets along with everyone and doesn't care about her lofty status or have any prejudices regarding race or background. She even becomes friends with Ouroboros. Powerful, beautiful, and confident, Cassina the battle god almost meets all of Yunshi's ideal expectations for a teacher except for the demanding training and the trial of the Sand of Time, a millennium trial that is almost unbearable for humans. In the future shown by the White Lotus secret treasure, there is a moment when Yunshi is deeply immersed and delighted as he dances in the sky with Cassina the battle god, using their divine technique, the magnificence of sky dance. Yunshi couldn't even imagine that he would meet his teacher again in this place, at this moment. Cassina the battle god raised her left hand gently and placed her right hand on her waist, striking a pose for the performance. She performed the action with great skill, as it was one of Cassina the battle god's specialties. Before becoming the battle god, she was the top dancer in a traveling troupe. Her long legs were different from Shea Longness's delicate and slender beauty. Instead, they were strong and muscular, with powerful lines and a pair of long legs full of soft elasticity. Along with her muscular legs, Cassina the battle god had a beautifully curved buttocks that were firm and raised to the extent that it captivated people's attention, resembling the curves of a stunningly slender-necked bottle. From her thighs to her calves, her whole body exuded a sense of strong and healthy beauty, without any excess fat. Her sandy brown skin emitted a sun-like glow, with every pore and inch of skin silently radiating the vitality of sunlight. Sha, sha, sha. The entire desert seemed to respond to Cassina the battle god's aura, producing a rhythmic and exhilarating sound. Keeping up with the rhythm, Cassina the battle god kicked her right foot, swaying her well-proportioned and beautiful legs in the air, leaving behind graceful curves that extended all the way to her tiny toes, as if her foot was the most beautiful masterpiece in the world. The foot bracelet carved with golden sand dune patterns produced a crisp and pleasing sound as Cassina the battle god moved. This special accessory was a musical instrument that only top dancers could control. Cassina the battle god, dancing with confidence and captivating charm, exuded an irresistible allure from head to toe. Every gesture, every step, every glance, every look back, was perfect and captivating, without a flaw. Her hands moved with a mesmerizing rhythm, Her waist was unbelievably slender, firm yet flexible, every twist she made carried an unparalleled allure. And her long and perfectly shaped legs, lifted and extended gracefully, traced out elegant and enchanting curves with each dance move. The most alluring aspect was when she twirled, her bare feet tiptoed, forming enchanting and seductive arcs along with the foot bracelet. It was alluring and indescribably delightful, making people instinctively want to grab those bare feet and engage in all sorts of shameful acts. Gradually, the sound of the desert became more urgent, accompanied by distant thunderous echoes, like the prelude to a sandstorm approaching. In contrast, Cassina the battle god's dance became faster, with spinning movements completely different from the queen's dance of the Red Heart. It was a style of greater speed and explosive power. If the queen's dance of the Red Heart represents the elegant and romantic charm of high society, like a dance of the princess, then Cassina the battle god's dance at this moment was like a wild wind and lightning, carrying the essence of untamed nature. This dance is not performed to seduce or please the opposite sex, but to show respect to nature and to triumph over the opponent's dance. It is a dance of worship. At the same time, it is an extremely advanced martial arts training method that goes beyond the limits of the human body. Only practitioners with the talent of a soft body can bend their bodies to that extent, displaying unimaginable postures. Dance originally emerged as a technique for humans to celebrate the joy of harvest and to worship nature. The dance performed by Cassina the battle god at this moment is the most primitive and sacred part of human dance. After dozens of consecutive spins, Cassina the battle god clasped her hands together, legs close together, and closed her eyes, relaxing her whole body. Chapter 1295, Battle God's Dance in the Void of the Nightmare World. The 12 nightmare sovereigns almost unanimously praised Cassina the battle god's performance. What a beautiful dance! Indeed, Cassina the battle god. The legend that she was a dancer before making her debut in the Battle Gods Grand Martial Arts Tournament is true. I will give a high score. Wait, it seems like it's not over yet. Yes, the first dance of temptation, followed by the dance of sacrifice, are just different stages. The dance is still going on. Boom. The thunder that had been rumbling in the distance finally arrived. Cassina the battle god finally opened his eyes. The final dance of the gods begins. The first stage of the dance of temptation is a human dance, symbolizing humanity's longing for a better future. The second stage of the dance of sacrifice is a hero's dance, representing humanity's awe of natural phenomena such as storms and lightning. In the final stage of the dance of the god of battles, Cassina rarely performs this dance in front of humans, because it truly belongs to the realm of gods. Normal humans cannot watch this dance at all, and they can't even capture the movements of the dancer. They transform their bodies into the earth, into dust, into storms, and into lightning. It's not just about worshipping the gods, but about becoming a god themselves, and even surpassing the gods. Ding! The anklet makes a clear and pleasant sound, indicating that there is a huge creature about to emerge from the desert. It is a legendary creature that comes from the river of time and wanders in the desert. It has a gigantic body, like a whale, but with huge limbs that resemble wings on both sides. It has fierce eyes and an open bloody mouth, and you can see skeletal remains of dead creatures all over its body. People call this ultimate nightmare of the desert the bone whale, which is formed by countless grievances. Its body usually exceeds 10 kilometers in length, and there are even super-giant individuals that reach 30 kilometers. It is the ultimate creature in the desert. Ordinary physical and magical attacks are completely ineffective against the bone whale, as it is a creature that exists at the pinnacle of the desert pyramid. It is said that this nightmare creature is formed from the accumulated resentment of countless creatures who died in the desert. The longer the history of the desert, the more powerful the bone whale it gives birth to becomes. Only one bone whale is born in a desert, and it is the ultimate creature that indiscriminately preys on all living beings. People living in the desert often consider encountering the bone whale, along with massive sandstorms and shifting sand seas, as 3 unavoidable disasters. These disasters mean death upon encountering them, and only a few lucky ones can escape alive. Since it is impossible to resist or avoid these disasters, the bone whale eventually becomes a legend and is regarded as an ancient belief by desert tribes. When the bone whale appears, people from desert tribes don't feel surprised but accept their fate of being buried in the whale's belly and becoming a part of the bone whale. I know this. Yunshi looked at the colossal creature rising thousands of meters into the sky from under Cassina the battle god's feet, with its wings covered in countless bones. They appeared clumsy but were actually very powerful, enough to make a creature as massive as the bone whale fly. Cassina the battle god stood on the head of the bone whale and danced again. This time, her dance connected life and death, light and darkness. Countless flashes of lightning fell, surrounding Cassina the battle god and creating an ocean of lightning. The sound echoed between heaven and earth, and Cassina the battle god's movements became incredibly strong and powerful. Riding on a strong wind. Stepping on electrifying light. Even the nightmares of the desert willingly became stepping stones. Yunshi finally saw the real Cassina the battle god. She was a dancer, a beautiful lady skilled in dancing. She was a battle god, capable of breaking the rules of the world, freely displaying her power as a legend. Every time she waved her hand, it brought forth countless storms and thunder. The earth couldn't contain her footsteps, and the sky was not her limit. The pebbles of the river of time created splashes because of her. This kind of dance is truly a divine skill, something that even Yunshi couldn't fully comprehend in his depiction of the future in the White Lotus Secret Treasure. It belonged to Cassina the battle god's divine dance. With one's own strength, one can unleash and control the power of natural rules between heaven and earth. The barrier between rigid and soft bodies no longer existed in her. Lifting her hand, she gathered the power of millions of thunderbolts in her palm, then clenched it into a fist and lightly struck. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the world, only the dazzling purple lightning remained. It was a unique skill of Yunshi's, the ability to freely control the power of lightning at his fingertips. After releasing the power of thunderbolts, Cassina the battle god once again reversed her other palm, closed it, and clapped. Countless snowflakes fell from the sky, as if the temperature in the air had suddenly dropped to a terrifying number. A huge ice crystal fell from the sky and stood next to Yunshi, right where the lightning strike had passed. Then, Cassina the battle god dropped down with both hands and kicked towards the sky, leaving behind a mysterious trail. A massive blaze shot up into the sky, forming a fiery pillar that connected the heavens and the earth, marking the true end of the battle god's dance that shook the world. Such a performance could not be shown in places where humans lived. It was a dance that Cassina the battle god had mastered only after entering the realm of gods. It symbolized the miracle of humans surpassing the laws of the world and harnessing the power of the gods with their own bodies. The entire dance was a divine technique that required perfect mastery of both rigid and soft bodies. Only then could it summon storms, thunder, and even resonate with the dominion over bone whales. If the bone whale was the ruler of the desert, devouring all intelligent beings' dreams, then Cassina the battle god was a divine being beyond the desert lands, even capable of taming bone whales. In the river of time within the divine sword Sand of Time, there was a colossal bone whale being nurtured by Cassina the battle god. Its size matched the legendary individual that exceeded 30 kilometers. It even had a chance for advancement to the legend ranked in the future. Of course, Cassina the battle god didn't need this bone whale for battle. It was merely a memento and means of transportation, left behind after she defeated the supreme ruler who once reigned in the desert where she was born. Also works as a dance companion, occasionally shout and perform some ball tricks. Do you still like my dancing? After the long-awaited battle god's dance performance, Cassina the battle god smiled and looked at Yunshi, who was stunned. Yunshi stretched out his hands and clapped hard, only this way he could express his admiration and respect for Cassina the battle god in front of him. Yes, teacher, this dance is amazing. You truly defeated the desert, conquered nightmares, proving yourself to be the strongest one, the great Cassina the battle god. Chapter 1296, Breaking the Record Score. The enormous bone whale completed its mission with a loud roar, sinking into the gravel and leaving behind a massive whirlpool. Cassina the battle god's performance ended here. Clap, clap, clap. Not only did Yunshi give heartfelt applause, but the 12 sovereigns in the void also applauded. 8 points. The incredibly high score, rarely seen in the history of Red Heart Queen's Masquerade, was the best reward for Cassina the Battle God. 7 points. 7 points. 7 points. 8 points. With the rating standards of the 12 Nightmare Sovereigns, there were no low scores. A score of 6 points was considered excellent, 7 points indicated an extremely impressive performance, and 8 points was the highest score that had only appeared a few times in the history of the ball. Remove the highest and lowest scores, then add together the scores from the middle 10 judges. Cassina the Battle God got a score of 71. This means that 7 judges gave a score of 7, and 1 judge gave a score of 8, which counted towards the final score. 71 points, breaking the previous record for the Red Heart Queen's Masquerade. This record was previously held by Dusk, which Flora with a score of 69. Now, Cassina the Battle God's 71 points become the new record for the Red Heart Queen's Masquerade. Oh, Cassina, well done. Ouroboros was also amazed and cheered loudly for Cassina the Battle God. Not everyone has the qualification to witness Cassina the Battle God's dance. Just being involved in the sandstorm and thunder is a disaster unless they have the strength of the legend ranked. This is a true godlike dance, capable of causing celestial changes with its divine-level combat technique. Feels good. Cassina the Battle God, back at the table, drank a glass of wine but had a hint of confusion in their eyes. Actually, she didn't plan to show the final Battle God's dance. The first stage Temptation Dance and the second stage Sacrificial Dance were enough to show her ladylike side, and the expected performance ended there. The third stage, Battle God's Dance, was actually beyond what was expected. It wasn't a dance for others to watch, but a dance to surpass limits and practice. She was actually ready to end it at the second stage, but her wild instincts told her that it wasn't enough. She wanted to show an even more remarkable side. Then, her body naturally started the next stage, even summoning the bone whale from the river of time to dance along. It felt as if there was suddenly an incredibly strong desire to perform and inspiration bursting out. Even for her, Battle God's dance was a powerful technique that she wouldn't easily use. It would only naturally occur when her mind and body were perfectly balanced. Rather than a dance, it was closer to achieving unity with the heavens and earth, and dancing together with wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. It was a whim, and maybe that's the only way to describe her Battle God's dance just now. She felt that if she didn't perform it, she would be missing something. On the other side of the dining table, Flora stared at Cassina the Battle God, who was recovering with a look of intense focus. Careless, too careless. I never expected that the legendary Cassina the Battle God could dance with such incredible skill. It was a talent and technique even she couldn't compare to. Whether it was the seductive dance of the first phase, the sacred dance of the second phase, or the Battle God's dance of the third phase, they reached heights beyond human imagination. Cassina the Battle God was not only the undefeated myth of the Battle Gods Grand Martial Arts Tournament, but also the top dancer in Endless God's domain. In her field, she was invincible. 71 points isn't that much. The Golden Crow Princess curiously looked at Cassina the Battle God, sounding confident in her childlike tone. No, this score can defeat over 90% of the goddesses. Flora shook her head. Most goddesses were useless, especially when it came to ladylike manners. They all failed. After all, they are all divine beings, naturally born with breathtaking beauty and radiating with divine aura. They don't have to do anything, and countless heroes worship them. Except for a few gods and goddesses related to love and beauty, most of the goddesses have very low scores for gracefulness. Flora effortlessly surpasses them. Flora has absolute confidence due to her innate talents. Flora's score in gracefulness is not low at all, rather, it is very high. Little princess, you don't need to pretend anything, just be yourself according to your own habits. One of the elements of gracefulness is to understand people's hearts and maintain a balance in one's own camp. Just now, Shea Longness was brought into her camp, and now Flora begins to encourage the little Golden Crow Princess who, in her eyes, used to be a thorn in her side. Compared to external enemies, conflicts within one's own camp can be put on hold. When necessary, one can proactively forgive the other party. This is the generous attitude of a graceful lady. Even for competitive opponents, making one's own camp stronger is beneficial. In this Red Heart Queen's masquerade, it was obviously divided into two camps. She belonged to the same camp as the senior, including the Golden Crow Princess, Cyber Elf Alpha, and Shea Longness. The other camp included Cassina the Battle God, Ouroboros, and Lilibet. Flora believed that the camp she was in would definitely win, or more accurately, it would be Flora herself. Even if Cassina the Battle God achieved the highest score in the history of Red Heart Queen's masquerade, Flora had the confidence to surpass her. Today, she is different from her past self who participated in the ladies' stage. When she encountered the senior, she already understood what she was lacking and what she was longing for. For the senior, she must win in this battle of Red Heart Queen's masquerade. I'll go right away. The Golden Crow Princess raised her hand voluntarily, requesting to make her appearance. The 12 Nightmare Sovereigns hesitated for a moment in the void, and indeed showed this favor to the little Golden Crow Princess. The order of the lady's stage appearance was originally completely random, but who called the little Golden Crow Princess a special guest? The person behind her really doted on her child. Even this dangerous dance party was just a social occasion for her, as a legendary lady. She was the only participant who was certain that even if she failed, there would be no punishment. She was a privileged player. However, despite the favor, the judges would not show mercy when it came to scoring. This was something that even the god-slaying Sky Sword, who broke the game rules, could not achieve. Despite being special, the scores of the ladies among the 12 Nightmare Sovereigns would absolutely not be modified based on someone's identity. Even if the Creator God personally arrived, they would uphold this principle without wavering. Chapter 1297. The World of the Sun. The Golden Crow Princess, who is required to participate in the war because of her special identity, showed her true nature as the Great Sun Crow as soon as she entered the field. Burning, burning, burning. The earth is burning. The ocean is burning. The sky is burning. Everywhere within sight is surrounded by flames. Countless light and fire spirits rejoice, dance, and show different poses in this endless sea of fire. I knew it. Yunshi looked at the endless world of fire around him. Even a child could guess who had arrived. The mythical bird from Kunlun God's domain. The little princess beloved by the great queen of the West. Even though small, the fantasy creature known as the Great Sun Crow possesses destructive power. She was born as a mythical creature, embodying the concept of the sun. She is a true sunwalker. This ignited world belongs to the Great Sun Crow's field, and will soon become a prototype of a stellar planet. Sunwalker, the embodiment of stellar power, is the sun itself. However, the size, mass, and volume of the sun vary, as does the power of the sunwalker. It is said that the largest stellar concept is billions of times the volume of a standard star and surpasses even the concept of God's domain in the starry world. The world shaped by the Golden Crow Princess is currently only the size of a small sun, illuminating a world. When she grows up, her true form may even be the size of several gods' domains. The young form of the 9th-ranking mythical creature is perhaps a description of the Golden Crow Princess now. Even among the magical creatures that represent the rules of the world, the Golden Crow is incredibly powerful, belonging to the highest class at the top of the pyramid. In comparison, the Golden Crow Princess hasn't even been born yet, and she already seems capable of effortlessly defeating Ouroboros. She was born powerful and noble, unable to be born in a normal way. Only through the existence of the Western Queen Mother, who possesses the concept of nurturing all things, could such a special being be born. The Sky Sword warriors in the Sky Sword God's domain achieved the title of Godslayer when they entered the 9th rank, establishing themselves as the strongest. The Golden Crow Princess doesn't need to do such things. She herself is a magical creature with the highest concept, and as long as she can grow to maturity, she can soar above the 33 heavens of Kunlun God's domain, overlooking all living beings and illuminating everything. The concept of the sun in Kunlun God's domain is much more than just the core of a god's domain. The entire Kunlun God's domain contains many complex and fragmented special realms, making it the unique fantasy god's domain within the entire Eastern God's domain. Many powerful magical creatures reside there, most of them being creatures conceived by the Western Queen Mother. It is said that the concentration of spiritual energy in the entire Kunlun is at the level of an immortal world, to the extent that even ordinary people living there can move mountains, travel thousands of miles in a day. Some of them, referred to as heroes, dare to challenge the mighty magical creatures high above them, becoming monsters that people living in the endless God's domain could never imagine. Look, isn't it beautiful? It's the world I love. The Golden Crow Princess spread her small golden red wings behind her and flew confidently in front of the faceless god. This world looks very simple. She gently reminded the Golden Crow Princess about some rules that Sunwalker needed to follow. The most important thing is that you must never release your powers easily. Unlike the rules mastered by other fantasy species, once Sunwalker, who builds their own light furnace, releases even a tiny bit of their power, it will cause terrifying consequences for the world below. Most other occupations evolve step by step from various basic occupations, and even until the legend ranked, there are corresponding ways to control their own powers. That's why even powerful beings like Cassina the battle god can freely roam the earth. Only the Sunwalker profession, once it appears, is considered world-ending. Even if the power is suppressed to the lowest limit, it will cause irreversible disasters. Unfortunately, most Sunwalkers are not very skilled at power control. It is not a profession known for precise control. From the moment a Sunwalker is born, it becomes a grand feast for the light and fire spirits. These elemental spirits dance freely around the Sunwalker. Compared to the phenomena caused by a Sunwalker, a nuclear explosion is just a small spark. A typical coronal eruption of the Sun embodied by Sunwalker has a circumference of about 40,000 kilometers, with over 70% of its surface being ocean, hundreds of times larger than a small god's domain. The released energy can completely melt the crust of a small god's domain and ignite its core. That means, even if Sunwalker doesn't do anything, just by showing a simple movement, it will destroy a whole world. The little Golden Crow Princess is not at that stage yet, simply because she is still too young. She hasn't even come out of the egg. Even so, with the help of Yunshi's light furnace, it would be a piece of cake for her to burn down a world. Sunwalker is so unreasonable and domineering, it's terrifyingly powerful at the legend ranked. As long as it's burning, it's beautiful, isn't it? The Golden Crow Princess, being a natural-born Sunwalker, really enjoys this burning world. By tapping into a bit of power from the light furnace, she can easily create a world like this and eventually turn it into a small sun. It's her innate talent. Others can't come into this kind of world. Although Yunshi awakened his Starchild's memories, he couldn't fully grasp the power of a Sunwalker. He looked at the golden red elves around him and gave a bitter smile. It's great like this to be able to spend time in a world of just the two of us with the person we love. The most romantic thing is to ignite the void with the person you love. The Golden Crow Princess blushed and thought of the time not long ago when she met him and built the light furnace together. That must be destiny. Sunwalker, it's best to be with Sunwalker, a world of pure light and fire when the two are together. A golden red world, a romantic world unique to Sunwalkers. The scorching, bursting corona, the solar particle storms that cover light years of distance, that is the time when Sunwalkers have their encounters. The sun god, people often call the embodiment of the sun, even in the era of endless God's domain, people faithfully believe in this concept that is close to the origin of civilization. Compared to the so-called Church of the God of Light, the faith of the Sun God Church is simpler and purer. Because no matter how much time passes, the sun is always there, eternal and unchanged. Compared to the fleeting length of human and even civilization's existence, the concept of the sun, a stellar body that exists in units of billions, is truly sacred and special. Chapter 1298. Creating the Sun's Method. Love is a burning flame, an exploding sun. The proud Golden Crow Princess showed off her unique way of expressing love to Yunshi, with an excited and radiant look. She didn't know why, but whenever she was with the silver-haired big sister in front of her, her mood and body felt especially active. It's irresistible, I want to burn, burn, burn. Responding to the Golden Crow Princess's mood, many golden red lights and fire spirits scattered in the sky and earth became even more unrestrained. Bursts of flares exploded one after another, forming golden-red mushroom clouds. If the mags in Sia's world saw this, they would probably go completely crazy. This astronomical phenomenon is thousands of times the scale of the nuclear explosion forbidden spell. If a flare like this bursts on the land of Sia's world, it's afraid that an area of millions of miles will turn into scorched earth. This is based on the fact that the essence of Sia's world is the corpse of the legend-ranked Leviathan, the Sky Beast. In a weaker god's domain, the energy from one flare explosion can wipe out the entire human population of God's domain. It really is reckless. Yunshi looked silently at the flare explosion created by the Golden Crow Princess. Compared to this explosion, the impact caused by his landing in Sia's world was truly insignificant. The legend ranked is just so unreasonable. Even within the seemingly small body of the Golden Crow Princess, it contains the power to destroy the heavens and the earth. The Golden Crow Princess can use the same light furnace to create a powerful force, while Yunshi can only use it to toast bread. However, Yunshi is familiar with this power. In the future depicted by the White Lotus secret treasure, he has also mastered this exact same power. Like the Golden Crow Princess, he transforms into the sun, spreading endless light and fire wherever he looks. He and she dance together in the sky, illuminating everything. That is the future of the Sunwalker, where there is another sun that can withstand the sun's temperature. Even more, the two suns can merge into one, inseparable. Perhaps that is the future the Golden Crow Princess desires. Although she is still young, she is a divine fantasy creature, and under the protection of the Queen of the Western Kunlun God's domain, she has infinite time to grow. Her future is filled with endless brightness. Alright, I'm going to start too. After watching Shea Longness and Cassina the Battle God's outstanding performance, not counting Ouroboros, the Golden Crow Princess also felt motivated. Show your best side to achieve high scores. The Golden Crow Princess prepared her own trump card. Big sister, fly with me. The Golden Crow Princess summoned the light furnace, a symbol of love, and held the hand of the faceless god. She spread her enormous golden-red flame wings and soared into the sky. Countless light and fire spirits gathered from all directions, responding to the joyful heart of the Golden Crow Princess. They began to dance and sing a song that only the spirits could understand. It was not any language that could be written or accumulated, but a direct connection to the heavens and earth. It triggered changes in the world's rules through the language of the spirits. The sky was burning. The earth is burning. The ocean is burning. Everything, all of it, is catching fire. The whole world has entered its final fusion state, where all matter begins to transform towards something more extraordinary. This is the final composition of the world's destruction, as well as the prelude to the birth of the sun. The Golden Crow Princess's greatest pride lies in her ability to create the sun, and this is what she wants to show. The entire world serves as a tool to demonstrate this process. Sunwalker destroys the world, but at the same time, creates a new way of life. The world, covered in the fire of the sun, will transform from its destruction into a new sun that illuminates and affects the surrounding world. What Sunwalker brings is not only death, but also rebirth. The old world, destroyed by flames, still holds hope and light. The Sunwalker's mission is to ignite the dying world and gather its materials to create a new sun. The destroyed world turns into a sun, radiating light and heat to the surrounding dark and silent planets, creating opportunities for new life. This is one of the purposes of the Sunwalker's existence. The arrival of the Sunwalker in the old world means the end of the world, but for other worlds, it represents a new hope and possibility. The burning land gradually transforms and forms one enormous blister after another. Inside each blister are countless golden red flames, the sunfire released by the Golden Crow Princess, the culprit behind the world's destruction. There are no living intelligent creatures in this world. Perhaps traces of civilization appeared long, long ago, but after the long dark years, the entire planet has become silent, with only remnants of cities and debris at the bottom of the sea to prove that beings once inhabited this world. However, all of this is about to disappear. The Golden Crow Princess lit up the world to show her love. All traces of civilization have been burned away, and the land and oceans have turned into large golden red bubbles, filled with the substance that will form a new sun. Love means moving forward with courage. The Golden Crow Princess raised her little hand confidently, pointing at the golden red bubbles that covered the entire world. The light furnace started to ignite. 3, 2, 1. Countless feathers turned into golden red streams of light that pierced through the world, like popping bubbles that penetrated the already evolved golden red bubbles. The world exploded. One after another, golden red bubbles formed, creating a destructive flow of light. All the substances turned into gas at temperatures of millions or even higher, continuously triggering a chain reaction. This was the moment of the sun's birth. This was the complete destruction of the old world and the instant of the new world's birth. Even the 12 nightmare sovereigns couldn't take their eyes off this evolution process. It was an extremely rare natural phenomenon, rarely observed even in the long life of a nightmare sovereign. Only beings like the Sunwalker, who possessed the legend ranked, could achieve such a feat compared to the straightforward destruction of stars, 10 stars, or 100 stars with the god-slaying sky sword. The complexity here reached unimaginable heights. Destroying the world was a simple matter for beings of the legend ranked. Even the Ouroboros, the renowned shame of fantasy species, could accomplish it. However, most gods couldn't achieve the transformation of the world into a completely new state after its destruction. The method of creating a sun can be said to be a privilege of the legend-ranked, the Sunwalker. It is also the fundamental reason why they are regarded as the sun god. Billions of flowing lights passed by the faceless god, releasing a powerful storm of particles that could destroy the heavens and the earth. Among them, countless black spots were mixed in. The entire old world was completely ignited and exploded, but it was not just a simple matter of bone-shattering. It was producing magical transformations. The entire world's matter is evolving towards a higher level. The original form of the planet is expanding while also shrinking. Inside the star's core, a massive spherical object is formed. It is the core of the sun, experiencing many unobservable phenomena. Beyond the sphere of light is the continuously changing chromosphere, where strange needle-like objects occasionally appear. The temperature is more unpredictable than the layer of light, releasing a lot of red light. Lastly, there is the most active and ever-changing corona. Astronomical scale flares and black spot phenomena are happening constantly here. Countless sun particle storms disperse from the corona, releasing into the surrounding dark void. Only a small portion of the energy is needed to give a cold and lifeless world the opportunity to nurture life. Only by understanding the essence of the sun can one truly become the sun and then create suns. The Sunwalker creates the key to the sun, which is called ignition, using a special tool called the light furnace. Only a Sunwalker with the light furnace can truly be called a Sunwalker and possess the true power of the sun. The little Golden Crow Princess, though still quite young, is now a powerful being who can create her own sun, thanks to the token of affection given to her by Yunshi. Even though she is young, she is a legendary fantasy creature that possesses the power of the sun god. When her wings grow, her true form will cover countless realms within God's domain, extending her influence beyond its boundaries, even reaching into the distant dark void. God's domain, a world inhabited by intelligent beings, is only a small part of the entire starry sky in endless God's domain. Looking at the entire sky, endless God's domain is merely a network of small dots connected by star bridges. Compared to the vastness of the starry sky, even endless God's domain, with its countless connected realms, is insignificant in the dark void. The vast empty space beyond God's domain, with billions of lifeless planets, is the true starry sky. Even within endless God's domain, there are still over 99% unexplored realms, with only 1% being the known civilizations. In this way, the ability possessed by the Sunwalker, who can create their own sun, is crucial for the entire endless God's domain. Only the Sunwalker can choose the right position to ignite desolate planets and transform them into the beginning of God's domain. Not all stars can become the concept of a sun. Many stars have terrifying activities, with violent and unpredictable particle storms that can kill any living beings below the hero-ranked level. However, the sun created by the Sunwalker can control the power of solar storms within the range that mortals can bear. Compared to searching for suitable planets in the vast and terrifying starry sky, then spending countless resources to transform the planets and finally form God's domain, and also facing the danger of the God's domain's sun running amok at any time and wiping out civilizations with a wave of solar storms, the sun created by the Sunwalker is undoubtedly more stable. At least in terms of the length of human civilization, the sun created by the Sunwalker can be said to be eternal and unchanging. If there is a Sunwalker that transforms themselves into a sun to shine upon all things, then this God's domain will receive the blessing of the Sun God, and the vitality of the entire God's domain will be abundant to an unimaginable extent, without any disasters caused by the sun. Even for a fantasy God's domain like Kunlun God's domain, they also desire such a sun. That's why the Golden Crow Princess is blessed and anticipated by countless fantasy species, even while still in her egg. When she flies up to the 33 heavens, the whole Kunlun God's domain will usher in a new era, a complete transformation, and a flourishing time. The fantasy species and other intelligent beings who live in Kunlun God's domain even had a name for that era, chaos. It will be a completely new and changing era, even though it has not arrived yet. But the powerful fantasy species dwelling at the top of Kunlun have already sensed glimpses of the future. The Golden Crow Princess dances above the 33 heavens, her enormous figure embracing Kunlun. When she opens her eyes, it is daytime. When she closes her eyes, it is nighttime. Gods of water and fire will be born, and giant trees will rise from the ground, connecting the 33 heavens to the human world. Even the humblest humans, as long as they can walk upon that towering giant tree, can also see the scenery of the 33 heavens. A world where humans and gods live together. Semi-divine heroes and legendary fantasy species inhabit the same land in this world. It will give birth to great civilizations and a world of imagination. That world is called chaos, symbolizing the untamed void and the scenery of the beginning of heaven and earth. And the beginning of all this was the birth of the Golden Crow Princess, the arrival of the true sun in Kunlun God's domain. When she broke out of the egg, replacing the current sun in Kunlun God's domain, becoming the true Great Sun Crow, it was the turning point of chaos's birth, the era of transformation for Kunlun God's domain. At this moment, what the Golden Crow Princess showed to Yunxi was the great achievements she would accomplish in the future. Based on the perfect light furnace he gave her, she transformed into a beautiful sun. Although it's still a speculation, this sun is far from the ideal image of the Golden Crow Princess, but everything will start from here. What she performed for Yunxi was the fate and origin of a world. It's truly a great power. Even though he wouldn't choose the path of a sunwalker for a certain reason, Yunxi was still fascinated by the great power displayed by the Golden Crow Princess. He vaguely felt that he had formed an inexplicable bond with such power. Perhaps, in some future, he would also possess such power, the ability to create a sun. The power of a sunwalker doesn't seem unfamiliar to him at all. It seemed like a very long time ago, he had the power to create such a perfect light furnace for the Golden Crow Princess. Starchild, it should be very easy to become a sunwalker. Because the sun itself is part of the stars. Chapter 1299, Fairy's Calculation. Thank you. Standing in the center of the world that had already become a sun, Yunxi sincerely thanked the Golden Crow Princess, who was showing her most beautiful side. This kind of scenery is very precious and rare. It guided Yunxi on a path to the legend ranked. Although it also depended on Yunxi and the path itself, he still greatly benefited from it. Unlike the 12 nightmare sovereigns watching from the void, Yunxi truly had the possibility of becoming a sunwalker. After watching the Golden Crow Princess's performance, the nightmare sovereigns might just reminisce for a while, but for Yunxi, this was a clearer and more intuitive path to the essence of the world than the White Lotus secret treasure revealed. The young Golden Crow Princess showed her true self completely, without holding back. Perhaps this is the unique innocence of children, such purity without expecting anything in return. Hee hee. Being stared at by Yunxi, the Golden Crow Princess laughed a little embarrassedly. In the emptiness, the great wills from Nightmare World were also satisfied with the performance of the Golden Crow Princess. Impressive little lady, a promising future, 6 points. I think 7 points is a good score. Considering the future potential, I am looking forward to the next Red Heart Queen's Masquerade, 6 points. With her protection, she may have multiple opportunities to perform like Flora, 6 points. This Red Heart Queen's masquerade exceeded the expectations of all the judges. 60 points. This is the final score given by the 12 judges to the little Golden Crow Princess from Kunlun God's domain. It has always been an excellent score in the previous Red Heart Queen's masquerade. In some past dances that Dusk which Flora didn't participate in, this score could even win the championship. It shows that the judges have a unanimous liking for the Golden Crow Princess. This score is not because of the influence of the Empress of the Western Queen, but the real score obtained by the Golden Crow Princess through her outstanding performance. With the extremely strict scoring criteria of the 12 Nightmare Sovereigns, 60 points can be considered as surpassing the majority of female deities and fantasy creatures in the Endless God's domain, placing her in the top tier of the entire Ladies' World Pyramid. 60 points. That's too low. The Golden Crow Princess puffed up her cheeks and looked somewhat annoyed at her final score. No, this is a high score. Congratulations, little princess. Even Flora didn't expect to have such a dark horse on her side. Scores that are above 60 are considered winning scores in the trial of the Red Heart Queen's masquerade. The trial consists of 3 rounds, and even she cannot guarantee that she will score above 60 every time. Of course, when she doesn't get a score above 60, the performance of other contestants is even worse, with just a few points in comparison. The Nightmare Sovereigns responsible for scoring never show any mercy to anyone, not even to the Sky Sword, who possesses the power to kill gods. If they decide to give a 0, they won't hesitate. The scoring system deducing. After observing the performances and scoring data of the first 4 contestants, Cyber Elf Alpha's data model in her eyes is almost complete. Although she cannot see the Nightmare Sovereigns responsible for scoring in the void, a system that can determine valid scores has already been deduced by the planet's quantum computer teams. By combining the performances of the first 4 contestants, certain key words have been identified. Even though none of the 12 judges have made an appearance, Cyber Elf Alpha has already figured out some of the judges' unique preferences. Girl. Prime number. Pure. Charm. Long legs. Truly for you. Freedom. Maybe even the 12 Nightmare Sovereigns couldn't imagine that in such a short time, Cyber Elf Alpha had created a series of mathematical models for the 12 of them, and had performed millions of simulations in the virtual realm of numbers for her upcoming actions. The computing power is thousands or even hundreds of times beyond the normal legend ranked. That's how terrifying it is. The pillar of light appeared again, randomly flashing above the heads of the remaining 3 people, and finally selected Cyber Elf Alpha. A 1/3 probability, which was not unexpected for Cyber Elf Alpha. Alpha appears. In less than 10 seconds, Cyber Elf Alpha calculated her performance direction hundreds of times and then stepped onto the elegant ladies' stage. This time, the scenery that appeared in front of Yoon she was very, very familiar, the stage of the endless starry sky. This is the battlefield of the wise in Endless God's domain. Divine beings of wisdom. High monks of great virtue. The wise who pursue the truth of the world. And the almost invincible Cyber Elf Alpha. After its official opening, it attracted a large number of players of the legend ranked. From beginners to high-level chess players, they were all fascinated by the starry sky chessboard, which contains the mysteries of endless stars. I like playing chess. Cyber Elf Alpha floated on the stage symbolizing the highest wisdom of Endless God's domain, slowly expressing her thoughts. Sincerely, even if she looked a bit messy like Ouroboros, she was not disliked by the judges, Nightmare Sovereigns. So, she actually got a good score. Even though she had the lowest score, she still had her own charm. Then, what advantages does Cyber Elf Alpha have on her side? She is not good at dancing, nor does she have any special traits like sheer longness or the Golden Crow Princess. What kind of performance does she need to show her own charm? There are no other answers, she just needs to show her true self. What a beautiful underwater world. Yoon-shi looked at the familiar chessboard around him, and his softest part of the heart was quietly touched. This is where he changed his own destiny. If it weren't for this place, he probably would never have encountered so many legends. Although he could only feel the existence of others through the chessboard, playing against opponents like Cyber Elf Alpha, Jewel Princess, the God of Wisdom, and Moha Mystery on the Starry Sky chessboard made Yunshi enjoy playing chess very much. In this world, Cyber Elf Alpha is the person he feels closest to, and he always has a happy time playing chess with her. Here is the ultimate answer I am searching for. Cyber Elf Alpha stared at the faceless god opposite her, giving herself a command. For now, bring this goal to her final opponent. The mysterious enemy on the Starry Sky chessboard, who appeared and disappeared without a trace, and even she couldn't find any useful information about him, a cloud in the sky. Although this deduction is incorrect, it doesn't matter, all she needs is a virtual set of instructions. Chapter 1300. The Fairy's Confession. With this set of instructions as a premise, she can show her true self. At the same time, it can also be an outstanding deduction, not in a virtual world, but in the real world. If it were the real world, what would her final enemy, a cloud in the sky, say? What kind of expression would they show? Even after countless deductions in the virtual world with the teams of planet quantum computers, this is still a question without a correct answer. From the moment I was born, I have been searching for a stage, a goal. The Starry Sky chessboard is the ultimate answer, a stage filled with endless mysteries. Even I cannot calculate the ultimate solution of the Starry Sky chess. Every game of Starry Sky chess has countless possibilities, and no legend ranked can figure out the unknown developments correctly. That's why I enjoy playing chess. I prefer the battles on the chessboard rather than the intrigues of humans. Cyber Elf Alpha looked at the faceless god and smiled gently, revealing her true self. Compared to the battles among the human galaxy elites, the fights on the Starry Sky chessboard are even more challenging than the famous Nine Men's Morris game. Compared to the intense battle against a cloud in the sky, where I had to overclock and burn more than half of the quantum computers of all the planets just to find a winning equation, suppressing humans and ruling over the entire mechanical god's domain is simply an easy task for Cyber Elf Alpha, like a little game. The mechanical god's domain has never witnessed the birth of a true legend ranked. It cannot comprehend Cyber Elf Alpha's immense power. As a scientific and imaginative deity born from the mechanical god's domain, Cyber Elf Alpha has been the ultimate existence since her birth. If she wishes to crush humanity with force, a mere snap of her fingers would bring about the destruction of human civilization. The reason she has not done so is that, in a certain sense, the humans in the mechanical god's domain are also considered her creators. However, they are far behind fairies and alchemical warlocks in the hierarchy. Without the god crystals provided by the fairies or the alpha star transformed by the alchemical warlocks, the birth of a legend ranked in mechanical god's domain with its unique civilization characteristics is nearly impossible. Look, isn't this chessboard interesting? Cyber Elf Alpha's mood became unusually lively as she incorporated the faceless god into the mysterious a cloud in the sky for which no concrete information can be found. As the ultimate imagination of science in the mechanical god's domain, Cyber Elf Alpha is the perfect concept in scientific theory and possesses infinite computing power. What she pursues is the ultimate truth of the world and the answer to countless unsolved mysteries. The intelligent beings in the mechanical god's domain long to know these answers, but as humans with short lives, they are unable to come close to them. Compared to the vastness of the starry sky and the existence of planets spanning billions of years, the history of the mechanical god's domain is incredibly insignificant. If it weren't for the star bridge connecting to mechanical god's domain, the humans in mechanical god's domain would have thought they were the only intelligent beings in the sky, even calling themselves the noble beings of the stars and believing that they represented the highest truth of science. Only after coming into contact with the vast civilization of endless god's domain did the humans of mechanical god's domain realize that they were not alone in the sky, and not even powerful. Previously considered only fictional gods in stories and religions, they actually existed in other gods' domains. There are creatures in the sky that cannot be harmed by nuclear bombs or any known concept weapons, and they are everywhere. Even the seemingly simple star bridge system is filled with countless mysteries when analyzed. It is simply not scientific at all. This is unrealistic. Reality should not be like this. It is the instinctive fear of the noble beings of the stars in mechanical god's domain after being connected to the star bridge. For this reason, They spare no effort in closed-door training and isolate all external factors in order to conceal these news and prevent people from seeing the true side of Endless God's domain. Mechanical God's domain, with the goal of pursuing truth, ironically excludes the progress of foreign civilizations and starts closed-door training. However, just like a suppressed volcano that eventually erupts, the proud and decayed noble beings of the stars are ultimately defeated by the progress of civilization. Cyber Elf Alpha's birth seemed like a closed-door training for the noble families of the Star River, aiming to create an absolute power. But in essence, it represents a more advanced and higher-dimensional civilization. This is not by chance. Legend rank Mechanical God's domain has never given birth to a cyber elf like Ul that is truly powerful. It takes a lot of coincidence and miracles to come into existence. Similar experiments have been conducted countless times by the long-lived fairy clan, but only in Mechanical God's domain have they succeeded. Because she is the future that Mechanical God's domain desires, a great existence that those foolish noble families of the Star River cannot even imagine. Playing chess is a very, very joyful thing. Every time I encounter a different opponent, I can obtain different data. The more data I collect, the closer I get to the truth. There is no need to conceal my purpose, nor is there a need to hide anything. Cyber Elf Alpha always dominates on the starry sky chessboard, never showing mercy. It is a recognized personal style by all star chess players who have played against Cyber Elf Alpha. However, there are many star chess players who want to play chess with Cyber Elf Alpha every day. Even though they will be defeated by Cyber Elf Alpha in chess, they can still have a clearer understanding of the mysteries of the starry sky chessboard. The more Cyber Elf Alpha defeats them, the more crazy they become. Even though their blood vessels burst and they have heart attacks with every game, they just can't stop. These people are beyond help. The starry sky chessboard contains countless rules and variations, which become even more fascinating in higher-level chess games. Just like the game of star collapse between Cyber Elf Alpha and a cloud in the sky, which is known as one of the divine battles on the starry sky chessboard. It was only when the starry sky chess master A Cloud in the Sky unleashed the power of star collapse that other star chess players realized that starry sky chess could be played like this, in such a way. If it weren't for the elusive starry sky chess master A Cloud in the Sky, there would probably be a long list of star chess players who want to play against him. Inside, there are many powerful players of the legend ranked from Endless God's domain. You're very strong. Why can you be so strong? How many times stronger is your computing power compared to mine? How can we figure out the answer like that? Cyber Elf Alpha blushed a little on her cheeks and looked at Yun Shi, who looked completely confused. Yun Shi felt a little afraid. Chapter 1301. The Qualification of Creation. No, it's impossible to be recognized. In the whole Endless God's domain, the only people who know the true identity of a cloud in the sky are Yun Shi himself, teacher Cassina the battle god who lent him the identity to participate, and guardian Lilibet from the Sky Tower. Even though Yun Shi later mysteriously entered the world of Mechanical God's domain, disguised his identity to solve the problem in Mechanical God's domain, and acted as a bridge between Cyber Elf Alpha and humans, he only exposed the identity of a cloud in the sky. So, who is Cyber Elf Alpha talking to? Starry sky chess. It's a very strange phenomenon. Cyber Elf Alpha didn't explain it, nor did she need to. All she wanted to do was express her thoughts in her heart. Or, it can also be called a kind of pre-exercise. Even with such massive computing power, she couldn't find any trace of a cloud in the sky on the starry sky chessboard. The mysterious starry sky chess master, just like the codename A Cloud in the Sky, is elusive. Nobody knows what race he belongs to or why he has such exceptional chess skills. Because of his way of playing chess, the opening move Qianyuan, which was originally seen as a losing strategy, is now being studied tirelessly by all high-ranked star chess players. Every starry sky chess score left by him has been reviewed countless times by these chess players. Due to the unique nature of starry sky chess, the scores can only be used as a reference. Unless you actually play the game, you can't truly feel the ever-changing situation on the chessboard. When newcomers look at the starry sky chess master's scores, it feels completely different from looking at Cyber Elf Alpha's scores. Cyber Elf Alpha's scores are decisive, fierce, and unmatched in their offensive and killing moves. Unless you're playing against the Starry Sky Chess Master, you'll almost always be slaughtered with overwhelming superiority. Even chess players who can't even make it to the lowest rank can feel the terrifying suppression when they look at Cyber Elf Alpha's scores, giving them a chilling shiver down their spine. You can't win, absolutely can't win. Cyber Elf Alpha's advantage is to crush you from the beginning until the end, without even giving you a moment to catch your breath. In comparison, most of the time the Starry Sky Chess Master's scores look simple, and sometimes they even give you the illusion I can also win. More than one person has this feeling. It's actually many people who have experienced it. If you only look at the chess moves, a lot of people can't tell who the Starry Sky Chess Master is. Because when he plays against someone in the beginning, it seems like both players have an equal chance of winning, or even sometimes it looks like he's at a disadvantage. Starting with Chen Yuan, giving you a big gift from the beginning, this is probably the only fixed formula of the Starry Sky Chess Master. And as you continue playing, you will realize that you have unknowingly lost. Unlike Cyber Elf Alpha who likes to win quickly, the Starry Sky Chess Master often plays until the later part of the game. It's easy for people to have the wrong impression and think there's still hope in this game. In reality, there is no such thing. Many star chess players have realized after analyzing their games multiple times that they had already lost in the middle of the game, and the later part is just a waste of time. You won't even realize how you lost when playing against him. That's the style of the Starry Sky Chess Master. Only in a very small number of games, to be exact, those few games played against Cyber Elf Alpha, the Starry Sky Chess Master shows his truly terrifying side. It's not that he can't attack, it's just not necessary to do so. Only crazy moves, like those of Cyber Elf Alpha, can truly draw out the power of the Starry Sky Chess Master, and let other star chess players who haven't reached this level see a glimpse of the true strength of the Starry Sky Chess. That was a disaster so terrible that even the stars could collapse, and even someone as powerful as Cyber Elf Alpha was pushed to the brink of collapse. Remembering that game, Cyber Elf Alpha's cheeks flushed once again. I used to think I was the strongest in Starry Sky Chess, capable of defeating all opponents. But I was wrong. Starry Sky Chess is not just about winning through calculation power, there are more complex elements involved. Having higher calculation power is one way to victory, but not the only way. I think I need more unknown fields to expand my database and understand more rules. Like this. Cyber Elf Alpha stretched out her small, white hand and snapped her fingers. In the starry sky, beautiful and enchanting figures began to appear one after another. Behind them, there were huge and beautifully designed planets. Each planet was surrounded by numerous synchronized orbit satellites. In space, there were enormous mirrors reflecting the brightness of the stars onto the ground. The planets were transformed by Cyber Elf Alpha with an unparalleled sense of order. In addition to the original lava power plants, new solar wing systems and quantum satellite connection points were added. The color eternal blue. The color eternal red. The color eternal green. The group of planets' quantum computer systems, each with the codename Eternal, formed a new sequence, categorized by their favorite colors. The idea of having 180,000 groups of planet quantum computer systems was not a whimsical fantasy, but a great plan that Cyber Elf Alpha was truly pushing forward. Continuously adding planet quantum computer systems to increase their computing power limit. Improve your algorithm, get rid of old algorithm programs, and update more rules yourself. Increase the productivity of Mechanical God's domain, open up trade channels, and communicate with other gods' domains. Every day after Cyber Elf Alpha was born, Mechanical God's domain was changing, and it is no exaggeration to describe it as a complete transformation. And all of this is for that ultimate goal, including participating in the Red Heart Queen's masquerade this time. Do you see? This is hope. It's the future I've been expecting. It's not completely built yet, but soon enough, this scenery will definitely appear. Cyber Elf Alpha's fingertips touched the image of countless quantum computers connected together. Countless data danced at her fingertips, no less beautiful than the Golden Crow Princess creating the sun just now. This is the unique beauty of Cyber Elf Alpha. The quantum crystal wings behind her are releasing words that contain the entire rules of mechanical God's domain. Simple 0 and 1 weave the outline of the whole world, and the meaning contained in it touches the 12 nightmare sovereigns deeply. That is, the talent for creation. Cyber Elf. I have heard that it is a new type of deity. It's truly unexpected, even more terrifying than I imagined. Chapter 1302, Unintended Mistake Perhaps. In terms of sheer destructive and devastating power, Cyber Elf Alpha's fighting ability as the original form ranks second to last in the Red Heart Queen's masquerade. After all, there is a certain fantasy species that brings shame to the bottom. However, her nature is completely different from previous generations of deities. She is the first instantiation of the endless God's domain, represented by calculation and science, the Cyber Elf. Her computing power has already been proven to be hundreds of times greater than the normal legend ranked, and even more frighteningly, she can continue to increase her computing power by expanding the quantum computer arrays of planets. This is something that all previous generations of deities couldn't achieve. Even ancient deities like Norn, the god of wisdom, couldn't simply and rudely infinitely expand their computing power limits. This is Cyber Elf Alpha's privilege, only born in this era, the ultimate fantasy of science brought forth by mechanical God's domain. Abandoning the incredibly powerful body combat ability of the general legend ranked, it continuously absorbs the computational power of the planet's quantum computer groups with the God Crystal as the core and integrates the cores of all the planet's quantum computer groups. This mode is unimaginable for the gods of the old era. Even the fairy clan created by Cyber Elf Alpha cannot predict how far Cyber Elf Alpha can evolve with such continuous expansion. At this moment, what Cyber Elf Alpha is showing as the faceless god is the inevitable future version of her that will be born soon. It can even be called the physical form of Cyber Elf Alpha, the second version. The original Cyber Elf Alpha, the body was only a quantum state life born within the God Crystal, with almost no direct attack power. Everything was an extraordinary god born with computational power as the core. This version of her can be considered the first version. Next, the Star River aristocracy discovered that they couldn't control Cyber Elf Alpha and prepared to destroy her. Cyber Elf Alpha connected and absorbed all the existing planet's quantum computer groups and smoothly cast the Star River aristocracy into history, making it version 1.5. Now, Cyber Elf Alpha calculates, optimizes, and decides to show Yunshi the soon-to-be-released second version based on the entire mechanical God's domain. Gathering all the highest scientific achievements of the mechanical God's domain, almost pushing the limits of the civilization power of the entire mechanical God's domain, remodeling all the planets capable of building quantum computer groups, forming an array of planet-sized quantum computer groups on the scale of God's domain. There is no need to hide anything. It's not a secret conspiracy, but a huge plan that will change the concept of the entire mechanical God's domain. If one God's domain is not enough, then I will continue to expand. This second version is far from Cyber Elf Alpha's limit. It can even be considered just a small update. After all, mechanical God's domain is only this big, expanding to this second version is the limit. Even the scale of the quantum computer group with 180,000 planets cannot satisfy it. Therefore, Cyber Elf Alpha needs more resources, needs more planets to expand herself. It's not about justice and evil. It's not about light and darkness. Cyber Elf Alpha is neither good nor evil. She is a concept similar to absolute objectivity and neutrality, bred by mechanical God's domain, a highest deity with infinite potential. What she possesses is the ability to create worlds, the aptitude for it. Though it's only potential, reaching that step requires an unknown amount of time and resources, but she truly has this possibility. This is also what the fairies pursue, even willing to sacrifice their lives to seek this answer, a concept of absolute calmness and supremacy. Cyber Elf Alpha, she is the most successful creation of fairies and alchemy warlocks. Her birth represents a huge change in endless God's domain, and many people have noticed this. In order to replicate her success, more than one legend-ranked individual has fought over the already extremely rare God Crystal. This special crystal that appeared only after the twilight of the God's battlefield is now a highly sought-after super resource in the eyes of major forces. According to the fairy's expectations, Cyber Elf Alpha, born from the god crystal, should be completely calm and naturally unaffected by anything, a supreme being with the potential to reach the level of creation. No one would have expected that someone could defeat the supposedly invincible Cyber Elf Alpha on the starry sky chessboard. This is an extremely unlikely event that even the fairies cannot predict, and can even be described as a random occurrence with zero probability. Even the fairies themselves, including the 9th-ranked mythical fairy, cannot defeat Cyber Elf Alpha on the starry sky chessboard. With hundreds or even thousands of times the computational power of the legend-ranked, how could Cyber Elf Alpha possibly lose at chess? Even if she played chess with all the best players in Endless God's domain, she would still win against everyone without even trying. The immense advantage in computing power is reflected on the starry sky chessboard, like the difference between an elephant and an ant. How could she possibly lose? With the help of the legendary star chess player from Endless God's domain, Cyber Elf Alpha could perfect her divine identity. Absolutely invincible. Extraordinary and eternal. Like the divine words that awakened Cyber Elf Alpha at birth. If I were to disappear from this world, who would know my life's accomplishments? No one can truly know my lost path. My desires move silently and without a trace. If I disappear, nothing can stop it, but my journey cannot be blocked. Disasters come, endless and unstoppable. My fears, my tears, convey emptiness in my heart. Dressed in emptiness, all thoughts are grey, and the view is devastated. The gods have perished, dusk approaches, but the radiance will never fade, and I shall remain forever. It was the proclamation of a new era deity born from the relics of the old times, an unknown deity with innate creation talents that Endless God's domain had never seen before. What happens next is Cyber Elf Alpha's journey of enlightenment. With absolute overwhelming dominance, she defeated all opponents, only a step away from shaping an absolutely transcendent and flawless divinity. Until she met that person. Just like a fateful encounter, from the very beginning of their existence, the newborn deity possessed the potential to shape the world but faced an unexpected failure. The divine being, originally flawless and devoid of negative emotions, experienced doubt, unwillingness, and falling in love. The person who defeated her disrupted the process of her perfect divine embodiment and forever etched his own name into her core. Chapter 1303, The Imperfect Her. Even now, she cannot comprehend how that person managed to do it. Like the countless rules contained within the starry sky chessboard, it is a path Cyber Elf Alpha still cannot decipher. To Cyber Elf Alpha, that person is special, unlike any other legend ranked. That's why she cared so much, going out of her way to do something unnecessary, channeling all the power of mechanical God's domain to expand the quantum computer systems of multiple planets, at any cost. Everything was done for the sake of one person. Regardless of good or evil, but extremely persistent. That person is the figure Cyber Elf Alpha pursues. At this moment, Cyber Elf Alpha briefly projected the figure of that person onto the faceless god using a set of instructions. Then, like the Golden Crow Princess, she displayed her own future path. Whether it's hitting the mark accidentally or the all-seeing heaven, this move hit the bullseye. That person, also known as Yun Shi, who goes by the alias A Cloud in the Sky, was startled. As Yun Shi looked at the outline of mechanical God's domain that Cyber Elf Alpha revealed for him, he was just as amazed as Cyber Elf Alpha was at his chess moves. Seriously? Just for a game of chess, it has to come to this extent. This is transforming the entire God's domain, with a difficulty that can rival the Golden Crow Princess igniting the world to create a sun, and it's far from the limit. For you, I will become stronger. Cyber Elf Alpha's expression was serious, as she temporarily designated the faceless god as a cloud in the sky using a compulsory set of instructions. She was completely immersed in her own future plans. It's unbelievable, even though she lost, she still feels so unwilling and miserable, just like other chess players at the legend ranked who were defeated by her, but her emotions are so turbulent and intense. She wants to continue playing chess with him. She wants to continue challenging this mysterious opponent on the starry sky chessboard stage. The quantum crystal explosion that follows the unbeatable attacking route. The Steel Girl who follows the strict defensive route, offering higher computational power and a broader perspective on the overall situation. In order to defeat him, she keeps changing and adjusting her plans and strategies together with the team of the planetary quantum computer, and everyone is working hard. To continuously progress and improve oneself for a goal like this is something that Fairy Clan imagines as perfect, something that Cyber Elf Alpha would never do. Cyber Elf Alpha, born with a perfect divine nature, is naturally superior, just like an ethereal fairy untainted by earthly matters, an absolutely rational and supreme existence. She will change mechanical God's domain, and even the entire endless God's domain, which is the future the fairies hope for. Perhaps this will take a very long time, but fairies are naturally long-lived creatures favored by the world, and they have the patience to wait for Cyber Elf Alpha to grow. For these long-lived beings who are confused about the path even of their own existence during these long years, Cyber Elf Alpha is the perfect embodiment they hope for. However, the appearance of a cloud in the sky disrupted the fairies' plans and made Cyber Elf Alpha no longer perfect. It can be said to have created the only flaw. A Cyber Elf Alpha that is not perfect enough needs to be repaired from the perspective of the Fairy Clan. They hope that Cyber Elf Alpha will return to the moment of her birth, untouched by any dust. For Cyber Elf Alpha, this is achievable. As long as all the quantum computers in the star clusters are rebooted, wiping out all data, including the data about a cloud in the sky stored in her own God crystal, the rollback can be completed. However, Cyber Elf Alpha rejected the fairy's request and decided to remain in this imperfect state and continue evolving. So, something that surprised all the fairies happened. Even though Cyber Elf Alpha was not a perfect godlike being, she showed a level of energy that even the fairies could not imagine. Her evolution was hundreds of times faster than what the fairies had expected. Taking the mechanical God's domain as an example, Cyber Elf Alpha gradually infiltrated the power of the planet's quantum computer system. The fairies had already foreseen that she would master the plan of the mechanical God's domain in the future. According to the fairies' predictions, this future was supposed to occur 100 years later. By that time, Cyber Elf Alpha would have become completely familiar with how to interact with humans. After surviving the generation of starry nobles who created her, she would silently influence the next generation, allowing the mechanical God's domain to naturally transition into the era of believing in Cyber Elf Alpha. Humans were unable to leave the planet's quantum computer system, and they had grown accustomed to Cyber Elf Alpha's presence. Naturally, they would not resist Cyber Elf Alpha, and she, in turn, would get used to coexisting with humans, gradually influencing the entire mechanical God's domain. In approximately 200 to 300 years, Cyber Elf Alpha would effortlessly gain the faith of the entire mechanical God's domain and become its sole divine deity. Only then would it be necessary for Cyber Elf Alpha to demonstrate miraculous power and guide the wisdom deities of the entire mechanical God's domain forward. From the fairies' perspective of time, achieving this accomplishment in a few hundred years was not slow at all. However, Cyber Elf Alpha, who lost to a cloud in the sky on the Starry Sky chessboard, made it clear to the starry nobles who thought they had everything under control, "I need more planets' quantum computer systems and more powerful computational power." The noble people of the starry galaxy were alarmed when they discovered that Cyber Elf Alpha had become uncontrollable. They wanted to suppress her immediately and even destroy her. After that, Cyber Elf Alpha told these noble people of the starry galaxy, who thought they were the masters of the mechanical God's domain, what the true legend ranked was. Cyber Elf Alpha was not a divine being who relied on human beliefs. Her divinity was even more powerful than what humans could imagine, and she didn't care whether humans believed in her or not. How could Cyber Elf Alpha, who had the potential to create worlds, be bound by the rules of the mechanical God's domain that barely even had hero-ranked humans? If Cyber Elf Alpha were the perfect divine being imagined by fairies, she could easily handle her relationship with humans and unknowingly become the sole belief of the entire mechanical God's domain. Imperfect Cyber Elf Alpha didn't bother with those foolish noble people of the starry galaxy. Instead, she took direct action and swept them into the pages of history, immediately initiating drastic changes in the entire mechanical God's domain. She wanted to change, to become stronger, and to win. It didn't matter if she was not perfect. She needed to calculate and become a faster and more powerful version of herself. Because she wanted to catch up to that person. Chapter 1304. The program written for you one day, I will surpass you. Looking at the faceless god, Cyber Elf Alpha unleashed her ultimate move. Countless quantum computers from different planets emitted a bright light, and thousands of solar wings unfolded at full power. All the geothermal power plants entered maximum output together. It was even more spectacular than the last star collapse, as if the entire mechanical god's domain was engulfed in flames. The earth was rumbling. The sky was trembling. Even the vast starry sky became more dazzling because of the full power operation of the quantum computer groups on different planets. The people of mechanical god's domain could look up and see the reflection of all the quantum computer groups on their own inhabited planets, creating a magnificent scene on this stage. On the stage, Cyber Elf Alpha sat in front of a chessboard filled with stars, intensely playing against a blurry figure across from her. Thanks to someone who managed to infiltrate the quantum computer group on the planet, Cyber Elf Alpha learned how to guide humans and get them to fully support her methods. It turns out that humans have an amazing adaptability. After the old aristocracy of the starry galaxy stepped down, and after an initial period of adjustment, humans quickly adapted to living with the quantum computer groups on the planet. Like other humans who believe in the gods of domain, the humans of mechanical gods domain quickly established their own ways of survival and began accepting the rule of the quantum computer groups on the planet. In just a few months, the old starry aristocracy was mostly forgotten by humans. The so-called former government, ex-girlfriend, it's probably something like that. Humans are very forgetful, or rather, they are creatures that are very used to forgetting things that are not beneficial to them. At least, compared to the old starry aristocracy, the New Age quantum computer groups on the planet don't engage in corruption, extravagant spending, or any kind of shady business. As long as you get used to their existence and learn how to get along with them, it's not difficult at all to adapt to the new civilization. All the computing power of mechanical god's domain is concentrated for one purpose. Above the god crystal where Cyber Elf Alpha's body is located on Alpha Star, the quantum wings spread out, almost covering half of Alpha Star. Countless twinkling dots fly in the sky of Alpha Star. Many curious fairies from God's domain, where fairies live, come to Alpha Star and look at the quantum light points in the sky. They are the biggest beneficiaries of the Cyber Elf Alpha plan, and members of the fairy clan who have moved from God's domain to Alpha Star. This plan was originally supposed to be launched hundreds of years later, after Cyber Elf Alpha quietly became the only god in mechanical god's domain. Now, it has been realized in just a few months. Cyber Elf Alpha has accepted the immigration of the fairies, and her Alpha Star where she is based has undergone a complete transformation. A large number of lush forests have sprung up, and even the fairy clan's specialty, the golden orchid, has been transplanted here. Creating Cyber Elf Alpha is just the first step in the fairy clan's experimental plan. There are many more steps that Cyber Elf Alpha needs to achieve, and she is willing to accept the resources from the fairies to expand her computing power and achieve a more perfect form. Cyber Elf Alpha is the electronic god of mechanical god's domain and also represents the ideal mythical fairy form after the evolution of the fairy clan. The construction plan for a brand new planet quantum computer includes experimental plans to transform some aspects of fairy clan life forms. Some fairies who are tired of this world and have lost hope for the future hope to break free from their original physical forms and transform into a completely new existence. This is Cyber Elf Alpha's special way of expressing emotions through a quantum light screen map that covers the starry sky, bringing her computing power to its highest limit. Eternal blue, eternal red, eternal green. One by one, the personalities of the starry quantum computer groups appear, focusing all their computing power on Cyber Elf Alpha alone. This is their mission and duty. Cyber Elf Alpha doesn't need the power of human faith, but she needs the support of the starry quantum computer groups. She is not alone in the battle. She looked at this incredibly magnificent and spectacular scene, shocked and unable to speak. Not only she, but also the 12 nightmare sovereigns in the void were amazed. Such a scene didn't display the devastating power that humans imagine curses to have. Only beings at the level of Nightmare Sovereign can truly feel its shock. Despite being just a prototype, Cyber Elf Alpha unquestionably showed her own potential for the ability to create. This deity is even more outstanding than what the fairy clan and alchemical warlocks could ever imagine. The perfect divinity crafted by the fairy clan with the god crystal can only reach the 9th rank. Among all objects that can be used as reference, this is the closest to the concept of perfection. It is based on the fairy clan's strongest mythical fairy, a naturally perfect existence. However, the current Cyber Elf Alpha has surpassed the limitations of that rank. She is not perfect, but she possesses even higher potential than a perfectly created 9th rank mythical fairy. Despite her flaws, she transcends the initial definition of fairies and displays even more incredible potential. The experiment to create a deity with the god crystal can be said to have achieved better results than expected. The birth of Cyber Elf Alpha is truly an unimaginable miracle. The Nightmare Sovereigns are not ignorant about the experiments of the fairies. Ever since the twilight of the gods, they have tirelessly studied this subject out of limitless curiosity. The resources invested in this endeavor are astronomical. Unfortunately, most of the experiments ended in failure. To be precise, Cyber Elf Alpha was the only true success. The experiment of using the god crystal to create divine beings proved almost impossible to recreate the ancient gods of old. Some of the experiments even attracted the attention of the Abyss, resulting in the creation of extremely distorted and sinister objects. Cyber Elf Alpha's birth can be described as a complete miracle. The imaginative fairies took the god crystal to the mechanical god's domain, where there was no soil for any belief in gods. Against all odds, they completed the great experiment named Cyber Elf Alpha. 7 points. This is a gift for the newly born electronic deity. 7 points. She deserves this score. 7 points. The women of the new era are all amazing, one after another. 8 points. I never expected that after so many failures, those fairies would achieve such a great success. Chapter 1305, Shadows in a Dream. 70 point. In the end, Cyber Elf Alpha's score broke the historical record of all past winners of the Red Heart Queen's Masquerade, second only to Cassina the Battle God, who just performed the Battle God's dance. Looking at the scores of the 3 rounds of competition, it is not surprising that this 1-point difference can be caught up at any time. Everything was exactly as Cyber Elf Alpha had calculated. This was the perfect performance she tailored for herself by combining the scoring trends of all the previous judges from the earlier rounds. Alpha, you're amazing. The Golden Crow Princess curiously circled around Cyber Elf Alpha, occasionally sniffing her scent. In theory, the Golden Crow Princess is slightly older than Cyber Elf Alpha. However, because she hasn't been officially born into the world yet, her temperament is even younger than Alpha's. From Cyber Elf Alpha, the Golden Crow Princess caught a hint of a scent similar to the Queen Mother of the West, and couldn't help but come closer. 70 points. I was really underestimated. Flora clenched her little hand, then lifted her pointed chin, her gaze becoming even more determined. It's time to show her true abilities. In the past, she was always a strong contender for the Red Heart Queen's Masquerade, but this time it's different. In her heart, there was a burning flame. It was a love fire that no one could lose, making their souls speak. At this point, only the last 2 contestants of the first round of the Red Heart Queen's Masquerade had yet to appear. Lilibet, the guardian of the Sky Tower, came to chase after Shea Longness. Great Witch Flora, known as the strongest contestant in the history of the Red Heart Queen's Masquerade. Only this time, even if I face the god-slaying Sky Sword, I absolutely won't lose. Flora stared fiercely at Lilibet, who remained expressionless from the beginning. She had a strong feeling that this could be her strongest opponent, possibly even unmatched. That calm expression, constantly giving a tremendous sense of oppression, as if victory was assured from the very beginning. Flora had a chance to claim the ultimate prize in the god-slaying Sky Sword's upheaval competition since she ranked in the top 3 among all the legend-ranked contestants in Endless God's Domain. The reason she is not first is because there is a multi-headed dragon who is even better at escaping and surviving. The unlucky demon dragon has successfully escaped multiple times from a group that includes goddesses, fantasy creatures, and thousands of hero-ranked individuals. It escaped all the way into the unknown star domain area where there are no star bridges. The beam of light shook, and this time it fell on an opponent that Flora paid extra attention to. Elegantly brushing away the crumbs from her lips, Lilibet coldly watched Shea Longness and vanished from the dining table. Splash! Splash! On the golden sand beach, gentle waves crashed against tiny golden pebbles. A huge door stood between the sea and the sky. Lilibet stood in front of the door, and her azure Excalibur shimmered with a glowing steel-blue light as usual. She has dreamt of this scenery countless times. On the golden beach, whether they were princesses or princes, everyone remained silent. Time seemed to stand still here, like a beautiful painting. Lilibet had no intention of speaking. She wasn't even a participant in this year's Red Heart Queen's masquerade. Her only goal in coming here was to hunt down Shea Longness, who had stolen a precious item. Even though she had been specially invited by Red Heart Queen Ada to join the ball, Lilibet still maintained her own pace. Unlike the passionate god-slaying Skysword Senior who eagerly attended the dance, Lilibet had absolutely no interest in the ball. Even now, on this stage that showcased the elegance of a lady, she still remained indifferent, like an icy mountain, keeping others at a distance. There was no need for any performances. For Lilibet, it was just a waste of time. This golden beach and the gateway that connected the sea and the sky, that was Lilibet's work and mission. She stared dumbfounded at Lilibet, not far away. Actually, he has many, many things he wants to say to Lilibet. Why have you been here, protecting this door? Is it a promise with someone, or is it a vow you made? Do you remember, we have met here many times before. I know you probably don't remember, or maybe it's just a dream for me. Lilibet actually. In many dreams, She fantasized about meeting Lilibet, even though he knew it would end with his own death. He looked forward to this brief and magical time together. Since the first time he had this dream, he became obsessed with the girl who always appeared on this golden beach. No matter where he entered this dream, he would always come to this beach and meet her. In her dreams, she always looked powerful and beautiful, making people's hearts race. Her pretty curls, the braids behind her back, and the shiny blue sword she wielded, they all made her figure so enchanting as she fought and defeated enemies. Hero, legend, myth. The more times they met, the more they noticed the shining aspects of her character. Even if she killed them 100 or 1,000 times, that heart-pounding feeling never faded. She was the most magnificent color in Yunshi's dreams, the sweetest longing, and the most captivating scenery. Every time Yunshi had this dream, it was a marvelous journey. In the real world, he was just an ordinary baker, but through this dream, he touched a world he would never be able to enter. The immortal ghost. The magical sword that cuts all the ghosts. The ancient and mysterious door, with unknown destination. For young Yunshi, it was an irresistible temptation. In the end, he got lost in his dreams multiple times, not knowing which world was the real one. He wandered here as an immortal wandering soul. He lived a plain and ordinary life in the small town. The sword that divides these two worlds, the sword that separates reality from dreams. When he died in his dreams, he would wake up in the real world and lose almost all the memories of that dream, only left with a feeling of sadness and loss. For a long time, when he woke up like this, he would become silent and not know what happened to him. It wasn't until he met Hua Hua that he felt like he saw a part of his dream reflecting on her, which made him involuntarily get closer to her and his heart beat faster. Chapter 1306. The treasure of soul gold sand. Tiny waves crashed against the golden coastline. The sand wasn't just debris but soul gold sand, each grain containing pure soul power. From the past until now, countless wandering souls have been killed by Lilibet's sacred sword on this beach. After their obsession completely dissipated, fragments of their souls were scattered on the originally desolate shoreline. Since the twilight age of gods, Lilibet has repeated this mission countless times. Guarding the entrance to the Sky Tower, Lilibet exterminates all immortal wandering souls who approach without permission, never allowing any impure spirits to pollute the Sky Tower. Among the 7 towers, only the Sky Tower receives this special treatment because it is unique and inherently alluring to the immortal impure ones. These immortal wandering souls that can never be completely eradicated appear day after day outside the Sky Tower, emerging from an unseen dark world and advancing towards the Soul Sea where the Sky Tower is located. Lilibet is the strongest barrier of the Sky Tower, an eternal guardian. Since the twilight age of the gods, she has fulfilled her duty to eliminate all these immortal wandering souls in front of the tower. The appearance of immortal wandering souls is random. Sometimes, there are only a few stray cats in a day, while other times there may be an army of more than 5 digits. Among them, occasionally there are some extremely special individuals who possess the power that even Lilibet needs to fight seriously. Perhaps, they are the souls of certain fallen heroes after death, and they even carry some god weapons fused with their souls. However, no matter how glorious their achievements were during their lifetime, no matter how many people praised them, and even if their souls were tainted and turned into wandering souls, they still possess great power. But when they encounter Lilibet, there is only one path: death. She will never show mercy to any wandering soul, nor will she allow these souls to come near the sacred Sky Tower. The Sky Tower stands in the ocean of reality and illusion, and that coastline represents the last dam of the soul's ocean. The color of this dam was originally an ambiguous gray, representing the indistinct color of the soul's chaos. Now, a thick layer of precious soul gold sand was spread on the embankment. It is the great achievement of Lilibet, who has slain countless lost souls over thousands of years, and it is also a priceless treasure trove. These soul gold sand themselves are one of the favorite treasures of nightmare sovereigns and ancient abyss gods. They possess properties between reality and illusion, making them catalysts for various forbidden arts. The value of these soul gold sand cannot be described merely as priceless, especially to the powerful beings of the abyss and nightmare factions, who cherish them as much as world tree leaves. The leaves of the fairy clan's world tree radiate the essence of life. The gravel washed up by the soul sea carries the colors of souls. These are eternal treasures that can be exchanged for items of the highest level, such as the legend ranked in the endless god's domain. They serve as the highest form of currency. However, the creation of soul gold sand is even rarer than that of world tree leaves, so it only rarely finds its way into circulation within the endless god's domain. The golden beach beneath Lilibet's feet can be considered the largest source of soul gold sand in the entire endless god's domain, possibly without a peer. Not to mention, within this thick layer of soul gold sand, there are numerous prototypes of god weapons buried, all remnants left behind by the lost souls slain by Lilibet. To put it simply, Lilibet is one of the richest people in endless god's domain and is the owner of this beach. In the empty space, many nightmare sovereigns couldn't help but salivate when they saw the golden beach beneath Lilibet's feet. Gulp. Honk. Ha. Lilibet may not possess the qualities of a lady, but for the 12 nightmare sovereigns, this scenery of golden sand is the ultimate delicious feast in the world. The texture and shape of this beach. It's absolutely fantastic, the best of the best. Wait. I think I see fragments of a dragon's soul in this sand. That's right. It's the gravel of a fallen demigod. The sword of dark souls. Humans who are alive cannot understand the tempting effect of this perfect soul gold sand on the nightmare sovereign, the temptation of the abyssal old gods. Most of the terrifying beings of the legend ranked can collect soul gold sand, which is mostly inferior products obtained after using certain bloody forbidden techniques. When eaten, it really tastes like a mixture of sand. And the soul gold sand here in Lilibet has been washed by the spiritual soul sea for tens of millions of years, with no trace of impurities, a perfect product. Among them are gravel formed by powerful living beings' soul fragments such as dragons, demons, and fallen demigods. The origin of some gravel was almost about to enter the threshold of the legend ranked before their death, just one step away from transcending the mortal world and reaching the realm of eternity. Some are simply crystallizations formed by the fragments of fallen deities. For the rulers of Nightmare World, this is truly the most beautiful scenery in the world. Unfortunately, they cannot enter here. The location of this golden beach is a mystery, and it is said that only certain people who have obtained permission from Lilibet can step into this beach. Nightmare sovereigns have completely no access to it. Even in the nightmare world, the existence of this soul gold sand beach is just a rumor, and no nightmare sovereign has really seen it. Now, they have actually seen it. The golden beach is even more beautiful and amazing than the legends say, like a paradise for nightmare sovereigns. Every grain of golden soul sand here is a treasure. These are the highest quality soul gold sand without any impurities, and there are even some super high-ranking sand grains that even nightmare sovereigns can't get their hands on. This is a treasure trove that can make any nightmare sovereign or ancient god's heart flutter. Each of the god weapons inside, even in their soul form, possesses ancient legends and even their own mythical stories. If they didn't know clearly that this is just the reflected inner landscape of Lilibet, created by Red Heart Queen Ada's special ability, the 12 nightmare sovereigns would have been tempted to rob it. Lady, oh lady. To marry such a lady would be a great fortune. This time it was such a treat for the eyes. This beach is even more magical than the legends say. Lilibet really does have such a treasure trove. Ah, my inspiration has arrived, after countless years of watching, after countless years of cleansing, that enchanting shoreline, how magnificent, how delicious gulp. Without a doubt, the things Lilibet brought out truly satisfied all 12 nightmare sovereigns. Chapter 1307. A familiar feeling. This is outrageous. Isn't this cheating? When Flora saw that stretch of soul gold sand coastline, she knew something was amiss. This is completely tailored to their tastes. As long as it's a nightmare sovereign, they can't resist the essence of soul gold sand. Nightmare world is essentially a rift world located between reality and illusion, and the nature of soul gold sand is similar as well, which makes it incredibly attractive to nightmare sovereigns. Just like how almost all humans cannot resist the temptation of sweets, every creature in Nightmare World, from the weakest dream monster to the highest nightmare sovereign, is completely defenseless against soul gold sand. Lilibet took out the soul gold sand coastline, and it wasn't something vague or unreal, but a real and tangible thing. Flora didn't even need to look, but she knew that more than one nightmare sovereign was drooling over that gold coastline. Even she had to admit that when it came to the amount of soul gold sand, Lilibet was the richest person in Endless God's domain. As a Dusk witch who smuggled goods all throughout Endless God's domain, evading taxes and daring to smuggle any forbidden items, she had also come into contact with this contraband, soul gold sand. She had some reserves of soul gold sand in her possession, used for trading with the Abyss and Nightmare World. It was something that nightmare sovereigns and Abyss evil gods loved even more than world tree leaves. However, compared to Lilibet's entire coastline of soul gold sand, her few pockets of soul gold sand were not worth mentioning at all. Enemy. A formidable enemy. Arch-enemy. Great, which Flora's intuition was correct. Among the participants of Red Heart Queen's masquerade, she was the only one who had her gaze completely fixed on the faceless god, imagining him as her ideal lover. As a result, with her budding love, she could sense Lilibet's threat towards her more than anyone else. Different, completely different. The seemingly expressionless face of the faceless god only showed a clear change when he looked at the suddenly intruding Lilibet. It wasn't a change in facial expression, as the face of the faceless god never changes, but rather subtle movements in different parts of his body. Even though there were no expressions on his face, being constantly watched by Lilibet was an unusual action, a warning sign for the love-struck Great Witch Flora. Just like on the present-day Gold Coast, to others it seemed like Lilibet and the faceless god were silently exchanging glances, as if nothing had happened. Are you kidding? This is clearly a display of affection. They didn't need words, their understanding came naturally. Flora panicked and realized that even without saying a word, Lilibet the guarding sky sword had stolen the spotlight in this lady's stage. Her level of threat may be even higher than everyone else combined. It must be said that Flora's romantic intuition was very accurate. Yunxi's heart was indeed beating faster and faster. It's different, really different. Of course, it's different because standing before Yunxi now is the real Lilibet, the dream lover he had imagined countless times in his dreams. Splash! Splash! Lilibet didn't need to do anything, she just stood there, without even drawing her azure Excalibur in front of her, causing enough harm to Yunxi. It was a sword called First Love Dream Lover. This sword continuously hit the faceless god, and then hints appeared on the head of the faceless god. Yunxi's liking increased by 1. Yunxi's liking increased by 1. Yunxi's liking increased by 1. There's nothing to be done, it's a privilege. Lilibet doesn't need to do anything special. For Yunxi, she is a fantasy that embodies the most beautiful things in the world. Click. After silence lasting for almost several minutes, the faceless god took a step forward. On the beach covered with soul gold sand, there was a delicate footprint left behind. This is the only participant on the Red Heart Queen's masquerade stage who can make the faceless god take a step forward voluntarily. For Yunxi, Lilibet is so different. Lilibet still keeps her distance from others. For her, this is just going through the motions. As someone who doesn't care about achieving the legend-ranked food, she is more concerned about when this Red Heart Queen's masquerade will end, and then she will immediately start hunting Shea Longness again. She must retrieve what she stole from the Sky Tower. For this, she even used her Guardian of the Sky Tower's power, summoning fantasy species from Kunlun God's domain to temporarily guard the Sky Tower in her place. Luckily, this is not the active period of immortal wandering souls recently. At most, only a few dozen wandering spirits appear in a day. Any fantasy species can easily guard the doors of the Sky Tower. In order to retrieve what Shea Longness stole, Lilibet has made up her mind to chase her to the end of the Endless God's domain. No, Senior. When Flora saw the faceless god take that step forward voluntarily, her heart was covered with intense pain. Originally, love is not only about beautiful things, but can also make people worried, sad, and even feel panicked and uneasy. Senior, don't be fooled by her appearance. Most of the sky swords are heartless creatures, daring to defy all rules in the world with their own will. Some of the sky swords are even scarier than the ancient gods in the abyss. They are definitely not a good choice to be a bride. Even though Lilibet is one of the few well-reputed ancient sky swords, she is also a sword wielder who has experienced the twilight war of the gods. Look at the soul gold sand beneath her feet, it has ended the despair of countless wandering souls. In any case, Senior, please don't choose her. There are other choices here who have bigger chests, are more outstanding, and also very wealthy. Please consider them carefully. Who are you? When Lilibet saw the faceless god approaching her, she blinked and casually drew her azure Excalibur in front of her. Don't misunderstand, she didn't have any hostile intentions towards the faceless god she had just met. It's just that, when she saw this person approaching, for some reason her hand felt a little itchy, so she instinctively drew her sword. After pulling out her sword, even Lilibet herself was a little surprised. She wasn't the type to draw her sky sword casually, only using it when needed to maintain order and deliver a sacred judgment upon the opponent. For example, when slaying wandering spirits, when slaying wandering spirits, when slaying wandering spirits. Well, it must be an illusion. Why does it seem like the opponent is very easy to strike? Chapter 1308, Flora's determination. Seeing Lilibet's seemingly eager and spirited sword, Yunxi reluctantly halted his steps forward. He had a feeling that if he were to approach, that familiar azure Excalibur might really strike down. Similar scenes had repeated on this gold coast line thousands of times. Well, there's no need to doubt that among the thick layer of soul gold sand covering the coastline, there are many grains contributed by Yunxi. As for how many, Yunxi himself is also unsure. After all, the number of times he has been killed by Lilibet is simply too many. It's strange that even though Lilibet has been killed many times, he doesn't feel any anger towards her. Instead, he feels more and more attracted to her. It's better to say that with each death, the bond between him and Lilibet becomes stronger and inseparable. Even without saying anything, just standing in front of Lilibet makes Yunxi happy. Time passes by second, and suddenly the entire gold coastline becomes blurry. Lilibet puts azure Excalibur back, finally ending this comedy. Maybe a score of 0? Last time, God-slaying Sky Sword, who attended this ball, also received this score. As a senior at the ball, she showed her support to Lilibet. It's impossible to get a high score, it's something that can't be achieved in this lifetime. If there's something you want, just go ahead and steal it. Lilibet doesn't care about the score of this Red Heart Queen's masquerade, and she doesn't need any additional attributes from the legend-ranked cuisine. A score of 0 is just fine. However, this is only what Lilibet thought. In reality, most of the 12 Nightmare Sovereigns were reluctant to end Lilibet's performance and drooled over it. It was only because the performance time was up that they had to let her leave the stage. Otherwise, the scenery of the Gold Coast line, the great Nightmare Sovereigns would never get tired of it even after 10,000 years. Soul Gold Sand covered the entire coastline. Special Soul Gold Sand could be seen everywhere, with god weapons of the soul hidden within the Soul Gold Sand. For the Nightmare Sovereigns, this was a magnificent feast. If Lilibet opened the Gold Coast line for ticket sales and allowed nightmare creatures to enter with tickets, they would line up for days and nights. If she was willing to sell this Soul Gold Sand, a large group of Nightmare Sovereigns would wave World Tree leaves and scream with madness, "Buy! Buy! Buy!" After wiping away their own saliva, the 12 Nightmare Sovereigns happily started rating Lilibet's performance. Lady, a true lady. She owned countless treasures that Nightmare Sovereigns dreamt of, even the ground beneath her feet was buried with god weapons of the soul type. With a graceful demeanor, she stepped on the Soul Gold Sand as if it were ordinary sand. She was a super lady. With her elegant disregard for Soul Gold Sand, who else but her could be called a lady? In contrast to Cassina the battle god's beauty, Lilibet displayed a different kind of ladylike virtue. She deserves a high score. I'm truly amazed, it's a feast for the eyes. This view alone is worth 8 points. 7 points, I don't want to give a higher score because I'm afraid she'll become too proud. 8 points, I really want to see it again. Why does the performance have a time limit, Ada? 7 points, just as excellent a lady as Cassina the battle god. There isn't a score below 7 points, there are even 2 scores of 8 points. It completely rivals the grandeur of Cassina the battle god's performance earlier. This is the charm of Soul Gold Sand, a treasure that even the high and mighty Nightmare Sovereigns would become intoxicated by. Following the rules, after removing the highest and lowest scores, the score is incredibly the same as Cassina the battle god. 71 points. Another highest score appeared. This edition of the Red Heart Queen's Masquerade can be called the Carnival of the Ladies from Endless God's Domain. Ladies from different gods' domains showcased different styles of ladylike charm. Surprisingly, there were 2 breaking record scores above 70 points. It is not easy to receive such an outstanding score of 7 from the extremely picky Nightmare Sovereign. These judges are monsters who grade according to their own standards and don't even care about the goddess. In the past editions of the Red Heart Queen's Masquerade, there were only a few who could score above 60 points, and most of them were the exceptionally talented Great Witch Flora, who struck a blow to the consciousness of numerous female deities. Without absolute strength like the god-slaying Sky Sword, participants with extremely low scores will mostly encounter punishments from the terrifying power of nightmares and pay a heavy price as losers. A score of 70 represents the unanimous recognition of the 12 Nightmare Sovereigns. This lady possesses the qualifications to sweep the entire Endless God's domain, even stirring the hearts of the ancient gods in the abyss. This evaluation can be said to be as high as it can be, and Cassina the battle god and Lilibet the guarding Sky Sword are fully deserving of this evaluation. Indeed, you are my greatest enemy, Lilibet. Great Witch Flora gritted her teeth as she watched Lilibet, who had a calm expression, continuing to cut the bread with a knife and fork. Whether it's a 0 or a perfect score, it doesn't matter to Lilibet. She is indifferent to anything outside of fulfilling her mission. It's her nature as a guardian. Do you think you've won, Lilibet? Flora took a deep breath. Surrendering like this is not the style of a Dusk witch. Even when faced with the god-slaying Sky Sword, she bravely defeated that unbeatable monster on the stage, forcing them to give up in the end. Moreover, this time, she has an absolute reason not to lose. She is different from the others, She truly chose to express her admiration for her seniors on this stage. This is her best answer sheet for the love lessons taught by her seniors. What is the feeling of liking? She had no knowledge of it in the past. It was her senior who made her understand the beauty of love and what it truly means to be moved. And just like that, she realized for the first time that love wasn't all sunshine and roses. It could also bring heartache, unease, and fear. Flora, believe in yourself, you can do it. From childhood to adulthood, as long as you give your all, you can accomplish anything perfectly. You possess the highest talent as the Great Witch. You are the pride of the witch god's domain. You are even able to contain the destructive power of the great crow that has destroyed countless stars, and possess the ability to travel through dimensions as the Dusk Witch. Today is the day you step onto the most important battlefield of your life. The word lose doesn't exist in your dictionary. In Flora's eyes, the shadow of the black great crow appeared, opening her dimensional space treasure trove to select her battle equipment and tools. Chapter 1309, The Treasure Trove of the Dusk Witch. As the ruler of endless God's domain, the Dusk Witch is notorious for smuggling prohibited goods without paying any taxes, which infuriates the rulers of countless other gods' domains. No amount of wealth can describe the richness of her treasure trove. Throughout centuries of smuggling, her treasure trove has collected numerous treasures, many of which are unique specialties from certain gods' domains. These black market goods can only be traded in Flora's domain, with no other channels available. With the help of this channel, Flora's ability to make money surpasses that of most large-scale guilds in Endless God's domain. These guilds have privileged trade permits on the Star Bridge and are overseen by legend-ranked beings. Their influence extends across multiple gods' domains. Flora's profits from smuggling alone can rival those of these guilds, amounting to millions or even billions. This clearly demonstrates the insane profitability of smuggling prohibited goods. As the Witch of the God's domain, Flora is also a top-tier dimensional magic user. Apart from a few territories controlled by the creator beings such as Pantheon, Dragon Emperor Palace, and Kunlun, there is no god's domain where Flora doesn't have a smuggling channel. As a result, the treasures collected in her treasure trove come from various powers. The ones specially reserved by Flora herself are the finest of the fine, the kind that money can't buy. First, we have perfume. Flora picked up a small crystal bottle. This was one of her secrets to victory in the past Red Heart Queen's masquerades. This is no ordinary perfume. It contains the essence of the golden orchid from the fairy clan, the blood of Abyss succubus, and is blessed with the divine power of a goddess of love. Finally, it is bestowed with special dreamlike abilities by Red Heart Queen Ada. In Flora's treasure trove, there was only one small bottle of perfume called Golden Love. It was concocted by a legendary alchemist warlock and said to be a secret weapon against a powerful giant from the legend ranked. The recipe was incredibly complex, and only one perfect bottle was produced in the entire Endless God's domain. It was then divided into several smaller bottles. The price of this small bottle in Flora's hand could buy a small god's domain, but it was priceless and not available for sale. Due to some materials being extinct and some being used in the past, only half of the remaining golden love in the entire Endless God's domain is now in Flora's possession. It's less than 2/3 of this small bottle she holds in her palm. Flora obtained this small bottle at an astronomical cost, traded for it from the collection of an alchemy master. In previous Red Heart Queen's balls, she had encountered opponents several times, and she always emerged victorious by using this secret weapon. She laughed last. But now, this precious golden love didn't give Flora the same confidence as before. Her opponent this time was incredibly powerful. Putting a drop of golden love on her chest and feeling the enchanting scent naturally emanating from it, Flora felt slightly reassured. Keep choosing. There is no perfume more advanced than golden love, but there are still clothes and jewelry. This is a lady's war, she must win this battle. This black crow robe won't do, even though it can show off her great body curves, it is too dark. Change. Treasure search, find the clothing with the highest charm value. 3 different styles of decorations appeared in front of Flora, all of them are equipment that meets her requirements. The first one is a golden dress in a sacred style, adorned with light golden lace on the edges, with a big bow decoration on the chest, and even holy dust floating around the hem of the dress. Angel's tribute, made by a certain light deity of the twilight age of the gods, this battle armor is handcrafted for their loved one using fabric woven with the divine property. It comes with a holy halo, angel's protection, and angel's feathers, and can transform into an angel for battle when necessary. It is an excellent outfit that combines sacred art and combat power. The second item was much bolder in style compared to the first. It had a lot of open areas on the chest, and there were small devil wings on the back as decoration. Every part of it was designed to be sexy and suggestive, with almost the entire back being empty. The whisper of a little devil, a dark attribute evening gown woven from the hair of a succubus from the abyss. It was once used by an ancient god in the abyss to tempt heroes. It comes with a succubus aura, seductive power, and whisper of the little devil. The user must have succubus bloodline to be able to use it. The third item was designed in a unique burning style, resembling a deep red evening glow. It was designed by the Dragon Clan and had a crystal emblem on the chest that looked like blood. The Dragon Clan's wedding gown is said to be personally designed by dragon god Asher. It has the power of a dragon and comes with red flaming high heels and a queen's crown. It is a bridal gown that showcases the strong side of a woman. All three dresses met Flora's requirements and were full of charm. They corresponded to the three traits of divine purity, dark enchantment, and burning passion. The Flora of the past would definitely choose a dress in the dark enchantment style, which is fitting for her identity as the Great Witch. Witches are inherently mysterious and dark females. Most witches master magic of the mysterious type, and a white magic who specializes in healing and support is as rare as a giant panda. Among all the great witches in the witch god's domain, there is only one oddball who walks this path. The title of Dusk, which represents Flora's traits. Skilled in dimensional shuttle, space cutting, and even harboring the great crow that has destroyed many worlds, she has never been associated with holy or enthusiasm. However, this time, her gaze fell on the Dragon Clan's characteristic costume, purely based on instinct. Unlike the dark enchantment-style demon dress, it seems that the red bride dress matches the senior's silver style better, who seems to not dislike enthusiastic and proactive women. As for the golden angel outfit, it really doesn't suit her, as it is kept as a reserve for merchandise. Alright, it's you. Perfume and dress selection complete, next is jewelry. She had never used this trump card at the previous Red Queen's dance, but now it's time to bring it out. The forbidden item among forbidden items, it can be said that it is a cursed demonic jewelry. Kara's tears, cursed jewelry created from the tears left behind by a certain great witch predecessor who was hurt by love. Why doesn't the person I like me? Why is it that the first time I have something I want, it is destined to be out of reach for me? I hate this unfair world. I curse everything. Even if I am in a coffin, I want to shout out, like me. Trait, a curse used on people by a god weapon. Effect, anyone who gazes at Kara's tears will uncontrollably start liking her. Even if it is a tragic fate. Chapter 13:10. The Cursed Necklace. After smuggling for so many years, trading countless forbidden items, Flora's wealth may not compare to Lilibet's Soul Gold Sand Beach, which was obtained through cheating, but when it comes to the richness of her collection, she is definitely not inferior to anyone. The Golden Love Potion. There are only a few small bottles left in the entire Endless God's domain, and half of the inventory is currently in her possession. Angel Praise, Little Devil Whisper, Dragon Tribe Bride's Dress, all are top-notch treasures that cannot be bought with World Tree leaves. Black Witch Kara's Suicide Bond Necklace is unique in the entire Endless God's domain. Any of these three treasures is an extremely rare gem, their value is beyond description, and they are among the few highly-priced items in Flora's treasure trove. For Flora, these are her weapons, the most powerful equipment. Others come to Red Heart Queen's Ball for the legend-ranked delicacies, but Flora attends the ball not only for those rare legend-ranked delicacies, but also to defeat powerful opponents. For this, she prepared many hidden cards. The The golden love perfume, used to charm god-level giants, represents the purity of angels, the temptation of devils, and the passion of the dragon tribe. The cursed Great Witch jewelry is her trump card. In the past, even when facing the strongest opponent, she only used one of these weapons and easily defeated her opponent. But this time, she is truly giving it her all, leaving no effort behind. Put the golden love on her chest, change the magical raven cloak to a passionate dragon red dress, put on flaming high heels, and wear the dragon princess crown. Flora at this moment looks like a princess who has stepped out of a fairy tale. Especially the necklace on her chest, each drop shines like a charming tear. It was a lonely life, a life without chasing the obsession left by the beloved Great Witch Kara. It was also a curse. Anyone who gazes at this necklace will involuntarily fall in love with the witch who wears it. This is a bondage, and also a curse, originating from the hatred of Great Witch Kara. Of course, it is not an indiscriminate curse, but a precise curse that targets individuals. It is the strongest curse made from the tears of Black Witch Kara before she vanished. Its curse power once caused terrifying disasters in Endless God's domain and separated more than one couple. As the price for releasing the curse, the user themselves will also bear relative misfortune. Most of the time, they will die within 3 months after use. Even if I can only be loved by you for 3 months, I am willing. I just hope you can pay more attention to me, even if it's only for 3 months, I don't ask for forever. Why did you choose her? Did I do something wrong? Maybe this is fate, and I will not regret it. If you choose to use this necklace, there is no turning back, so please be prepared. These are the last words left by the witch who used this cursed necklace out of desperation in Kara necklace, and also a warning for those who come after. The source of the curse's power comes from the hatred of the Great Witch Kara in the past, and even the witches of the legend ranked are affected by it. Flora never thought that she would actually need to use this necklace. It was originally an item for sale in her treasure trove, and she has sold it more than once. Every witch who bought it was willing to give up everything to gain the right to use it. Yes, only the right to use, not ownership. Because of the special nature of this necklace of the legend ranked, even witches with a high resistance to curses cannot withstand the hatred from the Great Witch Kara. Once used, they will undoubtedly die within 3 months. When the witch who used it died, Flora would go and retrieve the necklace. Strangely, when Flora retrieved the necklace, she often discovered a shocking fact. Most of the men who were enchanted and married the witches who used the Kara necklace cried uncontrollably, and some even committed suicide for love. It was as if they were already fond of buying the Kara necklace from the witches, and the necklace seemed to serve as a triggering medium. Many people were already walking down the red carpet of their weddings before being struck by the curse's power of the necklace, only to be stolen by the witch wearing it. It was only after the witch who used the necklace's magic died that these people finally realized and regretted who their true love was. Unfortunately, everything was too late. Differences in family, race, and even gender became insignificant in the face of life and death. Fortunately, Flora would not make this mistake. Because she is the Dusk Witch, a legendary figure at the top of Witch God's domain, on the same level as the Black Witch Kara, who created this cursed necklace. She is not good at curses related to bonds, but as the Dark Crow, a creature that has destroyed many worlds, resides within her body, she has special skills to avoid harm. Even if it is a death curse from the Great Witch Kara, she can transfer most of it to the Great Crow as a substitute, reducing the side effects to about 1/10, and she can even specify the type of misfortune. Using such a powerful curse that can be considered suicidal, even Flora cannot avoid paying a price. So, the 1/10 she sacrifices is 1/10 of her own treasures, used to offset her own death fate. Using wealth to offset the concept of death is one of Flora's biggest secrets, and it is also the reason why she works so hard to collect wealth and demands high wealth from her future spouse. Why would the Dusk Witch, who is used to smuggling prohibited items without paying a single penny in taxes, do such an irrational thing? Is it worthwhile to exchange 1/10 of the entire treasure trove for a curse of absolute bonding? In terms of value, it is simply not profitable, it's a huge loss. However, Flora insists on doing this. It is her pride as the Great Witch. This is the only time she will perform as a lady, and she absolutely doesn't want to lose to anyone, especially that arrogant Lilibet. In this world, there are more people who have money than just you. Moreover, she also has her own unique advantages. Because she used a forbidden technique to bind herself with the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, she will definitely receive an invitation from Ada every time. Not only that, no matter which year's Red Heart Queen's masquerade she participates in, she is guaranteed to be the grand finale. The true protagonist always appears at the end. Senior, I'm here. She finished changing clothes in the shadow cast by the raven, and her prominent chest almost burst out of her dress. Below her teardrop necklace is a deep abyss. Flora has prepared everything. Take a deep breath, and then take the most important step of her life. Flora arrived on the scene. Chapter 13:11, Flora's stage. This. She looked around, surprised by the sudden change in scenery. Different, unlike all the previous legends. The scenery that left the deepest impression on Flora's heart was not beautiful at all. Without the tranquility of Shea Longness's Misty Lake, the mystery of Cassina the Battle God's Time River, or the grandeur of Cyber Elf Alpha and the Golden Crow Princess creating a world. Flora's world was dirty, decaying, and heading towards destruction. This was nothing like a lady's stage, but rather a terrifying scenery like the end of the world. The ground was filled with destroyed building ruins, not a single building was intact. Dilapidated windmills, grinding mills shattered into pieces, bridges split in the middle, castles cut in half. There were no bodies or blood, only a road with many cracks and signs that couldn't be read clearly, showing evidence of a past civilization. No matter how many times you look at it, this scenery is always so captivating. Truly, it is Flora, perfectly representing the end of the nightmare. Even in this destroyed world, it is still so beautiful. Unlike Cyber Elf Alpha's big data algorithm, Flora knew from the beginning what kind of world nightmare sovereigns would like. Distorted beings born in the nightmare world, they like beautiful and pure ladies, but don't mistake them for having any kind-heartedness. Their favorite scenery is the destruction of the world. Nightmares themselves are landscapes woven by countless intelligent beings, and nightmare sovereigns always prefer destruction over order. To be precise, what nightmare sovereigns like the most is the brilliance within destruction, like a volcano erupting before doomsday, presenting a dangerous and peculiar beauty. Dusk Witch Flora is an extraordinary beauty that perfectly matches nightmare sovereign's aesthetic. This world is a reflection of 1,000 years ago, the world that Flora has experienced and completely changed her life. Before this, Flora was not a Dusk Witch and was not part of the chaotic neutral camp. What changed everything was here, Flora's former hometown, the world visited by the Great Crow. The Great Crow is now residing within Flora, merging with her soul as a battle pet. Long ago, there was a huge black crow known as the disaster bird that destroyed world after world and devoured countless intelligent creatures as the natural disaster monster. Flora's hometown, which appears before Yunshi at this moment, is one of those worlds and the final one visited by the Great Crow. The Great Crow has the power to travel through dimensional worlds, randomly destroying any world it encounters. Whether known to the endless god's domain or unknown, the presence of the Great Crow inevitably leads to ultimate destruction. Flora's hometown, the city where Flora resides, is the final world visited by the Great Crow and is part of the witch god's domain. When the Great Crow descended, Flora was not yet a great witch. She watched helplessly as the black magical crow spread its wings and covered the entire sky. 7 days and 7 nights passed, and all the humans in this small world of the god's domain died. Great Crow indiscriminately sucked the life force out of everyone, devoured their flesh and blood, and sent out puppets made from its feathers to exterminate all resistance. It was not out of hatred for the intelligent beings of this world, but because Great Crow itself was this kind of creature. Worlds have lifespans, and when their lifespan ends, they naturally face death. Sometimes, the beings who reside in the world use forbidden powers to prolong its lifespan, attempting to preserve civilization and time. And there are some people who bind their lives to the world, seeking a kind of unstable immortality. The world where Flora lived used a forbidden technique from the witch god's domain, prolonging the world's life and creating incredibly dreadful weapons. Those weapons attracted residents from the nightmare world, Great Crow, the nightmare creatures that can traverse dimensions. Great Crow was born from the nightmares of countless intelligent beings. Since ancient times, crows have been seen as a sign of bad luck because whenever crows appear, there will be dead people, corpses, and rotten things. Over time, in the nightmare world, which is rooted in the souls of wise beings, a black, gigantic crow was born. When people first observed this creature, they called it the Great Crow. When the Great Crow appears, it signifies the destruction of a world. Usually, the world targeted is a very old world that once had a splendid civilization. A newly formed world will not attract the Great Crow. Only those ancient worlds that have used forbidden powers to prolong their lifespan will be sought out by the Great Crow and destroyed. Without any human emotions, the Great Crow is just like those crows that can sense the smell of dead bodies. It appears naturally in worlds where the lifespan has reached its limit but has been unnaturally extended using forbidden arts. Then, there is indiscriminate destruction. The Great Crow will devour everything alive in this world without hesitation, bringing an end that should have come long ago. Flora's hometown experienced the death announcement from the Great Crow in this way. On the first day of the Great Crow's arrival, the world's population decreased by half. Just with a single cry from the Great Crow, half of the humans in the world turned to ashes. On the second day, all the water in streams and lakes turned into poisonous substances. People could only quench their thirst with water created by witches' magic. On the third day, all the crops in the soil withered and humans lost their place to grow food. On the fourth day, a big flood came, and 1/3 of the land was completely submerged, and black feathers started falling. On the fifth day, the witches' magic began to dry up, and there was only one city left in the whole world, struggling desperately. On the sixth day, the most powerful witches and their disciples launched a counterattack against Great Crow, and together they invaded the body of Great Crow, which covered the sky. On the seventh day, no one returned, and the world fell into silence. Everything came to an end. No one survived except for one person. Her name was Flora, the only witch who managed to enter Great Crow's heart, the last hope of the world. However, she couldn't save her homeland. That war was the witch's final victory, a victory achieved by only one person. Chapter 13:12. Dusk, which perhaps Great Crow could not imagine that the witches would use that tactic in the end. Or rather, from the very beginning, this city was a bait, a trap carefully prepared for Great Crow. Everything was for one person, Flora. This great witch candidate with the highest talent, hailing from the remote area of witch god's domain, from the small god's domain. In order for her to step into the legend ranked and become a true great witch, her teacher had long ago started preparing a plan, but Flora herself was unaware of this plan. The whole world was prepared as a sacrifice for Great Crow, to summon this natural disaster monster with dimensional shuttle power. The witches who discovered Great Crow's true nature used certain methods, in order to have one more great witch in witch god's domain. They abandoned this god's domain and began to lay their foundations hundreds of years ago. The forbidden technique hidden in Flora's hometown is a fusion-type spell, requiring the sacrifice of millions of humans and more than 36 witches in order to capture Great Crow. This would make this natural disaster monster with dimensional shuttle power become a battle pet exclusive to a witch with great witch potential. At the end of the plan, the witch who proposed the plan, Flora's teacher, and all her disciples, gave themselves as a sacrifice to Great Crow and activated the forbidden magic. At the cost of countless creatures and endless treasures in God's domain, Great Crow was captured. The only survivor merged with Great Crow's heart and became the Great Witch with the power of dimensional shuttle. That day, the 7-day-long darkness came to an end. The only remaining witch found herself in a ruined world colored by dusk. There was no one else alive except for her. The witch who plotted this trap, Flora's teacher and disciples, died. Those who were caught in this world vanished into thin air. The only one left was Flora, wearing a magical robe stained with countless blood, its original colors no longer visible. On that day, Flora lost everything. The only thing left by her teacher was a farewell letter. Flora, don't feel sad. This is a plan we've been carrying out for hundreds of years, for the birth of a great witch. We have been waiting for the arrival of the great crow, waiting for someone with enough talent to become a great witch. And finally, you were chosen. You truly are my most outstanding disciple. Live proudly as a great witch, destined to become a legend. This is the last thing we can do for you. Why? When Flora saw the farewell letter, she finally knew the truth behind everything. Why were many young people from God's domain recruited to other places for various reasons? Why are the teacher and the disciples not surprised by the arrival of the great crow and have prepared enough supplies for the disaster? Unfortunately, all the preparations were in vain. The destructive power of the great crow was unstoppable. By the 6th day, all humans except for the witch had died. Afterwards, only the remaining witches together attacked the great crow's body and designated her to cast the final sealing spell. Even Flora, who had the highest witch talent, found the complexity of that spell overwhelming. As she cast this super complicated spell, undoubtedly some kind of forbidden spell, one by one, the disciples who had studied with her under the teacher sacrificed themselves and were devoured by the great crow. Finally, even her teacher, the elderly witch who had lived for 800 years, could not escape and became nourishment for the great crow. Realizing that she had become completely alone, Flora, with tears in her eyes, completed the final spell and then lost consciousness. When she opened her eyes again, she found herself standing on a desolate land. Even though only 7 days and nights had passed, the familiar world she knew had completely disappeared. The ruined scenery that appeared in front of Yoon, she was the hometown that Flora could never forget. On that day, the witch Flora disappeared. Standing on this ruined land was the great witch Flora, who had merged with the great crow and obtained the power of the dimensional shuttle. In her eyes, reflected the scenery of the ruins under the twilight's radiance, so familiar yet so unfamiliar. Dusk witch Flora became her witch name, in memory of the day the world ended, the colors she last saw. The scenery of Dusk. In a gloomy world, Flora stood out, wearing a dragon clan's red bridal gown, stepping on fiery high heels, and wearing a magnificent crown. Behind her, a giant crow was unfurling its wings, emitting contented and joyful cries. It was calamity, it was destruction, it was the true nature of the great crow. Bathed in the great crow's aura of death, Flora displayed a breathtaking beauty. That was the scene at the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, where nightmare sovereign judges who had impressed countless judges couldn't help but applaud and cheer. Moreover, today's Flora is more shining and magnificent than any previous occasion. Because, the attire she wore this time was not a usual black raven robe, but a vibrant red gown. Her elevated chest and long, perfect legs appeared even more snowy and captivating against the flame-like high heels. With perfect body curves and confident gaze, even the sword scar on her cheek emitted a mysterious and unpredictable aura. The dragon-style bridal gown personally designed by dragon god Asher was a perfect match for Flora's flawless figure, especially the revealing part on the chest, which made Yunshi's heart beat faster. Standing amidst the ruins, in a world completely devastated, only Flora possessed perfect colors, and it was an incredibly passionate shade of red. This surpassed the artistic sense of all the other participants. It was a proof of Flora's numerous battles. The mere intertwining of colors alone was an art, a talent innate to Flora. Indeed, Flora was not just a natural candidate for the Great Witch, but also had extraordinary artistic talent, making her a true lady among ladies. Most of the other contestants showed their true colors, but Flora not only performed in her true colors but also used contrasts of environment and colors to the extreme. And this was not yet the limit. Salane! Flora exclaimed as she held back the envy of countless female deities toward her magnificent chest. It was awe-inspiring, shaking the world and touching the souls with her enchanting melody. The final song of the world. Chapter 1313, The Witch's Mission, Part 1. Yunshi had never heard such a singing voice before. In the colors of dusk, a girl wearing a burning red wedding gown, stepping on flame-like high heels, and wearing a magnificent crown. There was no trace of humanity left, only ruins filled with darkness, decay, and the stench of death. The extremely strong contrast, along with the girl's song that moves the rhythm of the world, created an incredible beauty. Compared to the magnificent creation of the sun and the arrangement of planets in a quantum computer group, Flora displayed a more heartfelt and real tragedy. Every building, every detail, and even every crack on the ground in this world in ruins exist concretely, representing the last scenery of Flora's homeland in her heart. The war was a victory for the witches, as Great Crow was bound within Flora and gave birth to the Dusk Witch. However, the cost of this victory was so huge. The devastated world before her eyes is the ruins left by the war, where Flora's past homeland can never be returned to. Flora used to think of herself as someone who wouldn't care about the scenery around her. Because she possessed the highest level of witch talent, everyone believed she would become a great witch in the future, including herself. Through diligent studying, delving into the mysteries of magic, and constantly improving her magical power, she not only surpassed all her peers but also surpassed the hundreds of years-old elder witches one by one. This is a genius, the genius among geniuses. Her talent has great potential to become a great witch. Flora, you will be the pride of everyone. Since childhood, Flora has lived amidst these praises and jealous glances. And she has never let her teachers down, especially in forbidden spells, particularly those related to spatial abilities. She has surpassed her own teachers in mastery. If everything goes according to plan, in a few centuries, she may accumulate enough knowledge and mystery to start working towards achieving the legend ranked in the field. It is a barrier that all wise beings, apart from the fantasy species favored by heaven and earth, find difficult to overcome. The step from hero ranked to the legend ranked is not simply about accumulating magic or increasing life points. Every legend ranked is a living legend, a celebrated miracle. Throughout the history of the witch god's domain, many witches with exceptional talent have appeared, but only a few have truly become great witches. Every advancement to the legend ranked is unique and there is no common path for it in the whole endless god's domain. Finding one's own path is the first step towards the legend ranked, and it is a foundation. Just this step alone can defeat 99% of the hero-ranked strong individuals and make those at the 6th rank peak of hero-ranked despair. After finding the suitable path, one must walk it all the way to the end and see that door. After reaching the end of each path, different doors will appear. Is it about seeking the strongest power, crushing everything with immense physical strength? Is it about mastering divine skills through constant battles? Is it about choosing to merge with a certain god weapon, abandoning one's own body, and becoming a weapon? Each door corresponds to different choices of paths and there is no fixed way to open them. Constantly honing one's body, ultimately surpassing the limits of the flesh, is possible. Join Battle God's Grand Martial Arts Tournament, defeat all opponents, achieve an unbeatable legend, possible. Transform your body into a sword, let the sword be your spirit, achieve eternity, also possible. The legend ranked corresponds to a rule, a field, that surpasses the hero rank and symbolizes immortality. So, the birth of a legend ranked, even for witch god's domain, which has a long history and profound heritage, is an extraordinary event. The birth of any legend ranked is an exceptional miracle for the entire endless god's domain. Flora has planned her own path, the path of dimension which, and at a young age, she has already begun to try to touch the door to the dimensional shuttle route. Why did she choose this path? Maybe it was the dimensional rift she accidentally touched that sparked her interest in the ever-changing world of endless god's domain. In the current endless god's domain, the explored areas of known civilizations are only a small part, with more than 99% of the area still completely unknown. The spell called Dimensional Shuttle is the best way to explore the unknown star domain magic. Even if the star domain's information is unknown, as long as there is no powerful creator rank field, it is possible to travel and observe. When faced with a formidable opponent, one can also quickly retreat. Flora's wish is to fully understand the forbidden spell of Dimensional Shuttle and be able to see the unseen scenery, and write a witch's diary that can be recorded in the history of the endless god's domain. Therefore, she wants to become a great witch and possess the eternal concept. Without reaching this level, one is not qualified to leave their own god's domain and explore the endless starry sea. Currently, over 90% of the territory of the endless god's domain is explored and expanded by strong individuals of the legend ranked. The vastness of the starry sky is such that even with eternal and immortal legend-ranked status, it would take millions of years to explore just a small part. Just establishing a star bridge system that covers the entire endless god's domain is already the limit of the civilization system of the current endless god's domain. Flora yearns to do something that nobody else can do, to draw more star maps than any legend-ranked, which is why she chose the path of a dimension witch. At that time, Flora was innocent and kind, just like a pure witch on a blank canvas. Her teacher knew about her wish, and they had a meaningful conversation. Flora, do you want to have the power of the dimensional shuttle? It's not something that a witch with your abilities can control. Even a witch of the legend ranked probably can't do such a thing. The constitution required to travel between dimensions doesn't exist in the known witch bloodlines. Flora at that time responded to her teacher like this: "Then, I will be the first witch who can dimensional shuttle. No matter if it takes 1,000 years or 10,000 years, I will complete this task. I believe that I can achieve all of this, no matter the cost." Flora still remembers, to this day, the smile on her teacher's face when she heard her response, a smile filled with anticipation, joy, and determination. "Very well, this is my Flora. I will help make your wish come true." Chapter 13-14, The Witch's Mission, Part 2. Long after, Flora always regretted not telling the truth that day. She wasn't a child who liked to lie, but only that one time, she should have lied and not given the correct answer to her teacher. "Flora, you are my most outstanding student, without a doubt. Honestly, tell me, how confident are you in opening the door to the dimensional shuttle?" "Probably, it will take over 300 years, with a probability of 1/3. This is definitely a very, very high number, and it's where Flora's confidence and pride lie. Spending 300 years to push her own abilities to the limit, allowing overflowing magic to distort parts of space, and then exploring the true mysteries of the dimensional realm. A rare treasure that can help someone reach the legend ranked of heroes, even if it only increases the probability by 1%, can still cause a war among heroes. Unfortunately, Flora chose a path that had never existed before, known as the Dimension Witch. There are only a few rule-based treasures related to space in the entire endless god's domain, and they are all in the hands of powerful beings at the legend ranked. For a mere hero-ranked witch, it's a foolish dream to obtain a treasure of this level. Even in the witch god's domain, there is no god weapon related to space available. 1/3. "Flora, you never cease to amaze me." Her teacher looked at her with a gaze that Flora couldn't understand at the time. If there was a way to make this probability 100%. "Teacher, that's impossible, isn't it? There's no method that guarantees a 100% chance of becoming a legend-ranked great witch." Flora thought her teacher was being too optimistic. Well, normally, such a method doesn't exist. Even if it requires sacrificing the lives of millions, tens of dozens of witches, if it can't be done, it can't be done. The door to the legend ranked won't open for those without potential. Only those who can cross the door with their own strength can see it. "Flora, you are right. This method is impossible to succeed." Even though he said that, the teacher's eyes were burning when he looked at Flora. Yes, even for the witches in the witch god's domain, this method is not valid. Because they don't have the qualification to touch that door. The door of the dimensional shuttle has only been truly understood and touched by Flora so far. She confidently said that with 300 years of magical accumulation, she had a 1/3 chance of opening that door. Only the highest talent can achieve such a miracle. But it's still not enough. A 1/3 chance is not reliable at all. No, even with a 50% chance, it's still not enough. The step to becoming a legend is reaching the hero rank. Once you cross it, you become eternal. If you fail, you won't even have a chance to regret. While ordinary people can try multiple times to reach the hero rank, there is a risk of death when attempting to break through to the legend ranked. Every attempt to reach the legend ranked is a gamble that consumes your own potential for life. The probability of success on the first attempt is undoubtedly the highest. If you fail the attempt, you will suffer almost irreparable damage, causing a decrease in potential and a significant increase in difficulty for the next attempt. The highest number of successful attempts to reach the legend ranked, as recorded in the history of Endless God's Domain, is 4 times. In reality, most hero-ranked individuals who reach the peak of the 6th rank won't even have the opportunity to attempt the legend ranked. Only those who find the correct path and reach the end, touching their own gate, are qualified to break through the barrier between the hero rank and the legend ranked. Every time you challenge yourself, it's like taking a gamble and embarking on an adventure. Those who can reach the hero rank and touch the gate at the end are the geniuses of their tribe, possessing different miracles and extraordinary talents. Even so, no one dares to guarantee that they will successfully reach the legend ranked. Accumulate your own strength and reach your own limits. Increase your fame and accomplish great adventures and achievements, becoming a hero in the hearts of countless people. Everything is just for that step towards reaching the legend ranked, for a little more opportunity. Anything that can increase this probability, whether it's natural treasures or divine weapons, can cause chaos and bloodshed. For Flora, a 1/3 chance is a highly worthwhile probability. Even if she fails, she won't give up and will continue to try a 2nd or 3rd time. However, Flora's teacher doesn't think the same way. Since Flora has such talent and potential, why take a risk with a 1/3 probability? This realm of God's domain has already exhausted all its potential, and Flora's birth can be said to be the last seed of hope nurtured by this world. She will become the legend of this God's domain, the greatest pride. At that moment, Flora's teacher made a decision that would cause the death of a world and the sacrifice of dozens of witches, including herself. Flora is an honest and good child, more dedicated to the magic field than anyone else, and full of self-confidence. That's great, that's how it should be. Your life has just begun, you have an unlimited future ahead of you. Your brilliance is destined not to be limited to this God's domain, which has already begun its decline. Let your homeland and us witches, who are destined to have no achievements in life due to insufficient talent, clear the way for you. Even if it means sacrificing millions or tens of millions of lives, it's all worth it. Including all of us, everyone is just like grains of sand in time, but you will be a witch who surpasses time. On that day, Flora told the teacher the answer, starting a plan that had already begun a long time ago. It was a rare observation and tracking plan of a certain disaster beast in the history of the entire Witch God's domain. This plan was originally an experiment conducted by the legendary Great Witches out of curiosity towards this disaster beast. The witchcraft that Flora studied, Dimensional Shuttle, incomplete version, was actually a byproduct of the Great Witch's observation of the disaster bird, Great Crow. Whether it was by chance or the inevitable hand of fate, Flora didn't know about this, but her teacher sensed the scent of causality. This child was destined to become a great witch that would shock the entire Endless God's domain. What was originally just an observation and plan to lure out the Great Witch, changed because of Flora. Several Great Witches and Flora's teacher joined forces to set up a trap for the Great Crow. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.